And we're going live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we're live! Hello, welcome back to the INVICTUS stream! My name, as always, is Mr. Harlan Guthrie, and I am here with, of course, my brother, Alex.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen!
And the one, the only, the inescapable, the absolutely handsome Mr. Chris Viseau. Streaming with us for the first time, and how long has it been?
Once in the last year. I played
once
last year, so I don't know how long it's been since I played, but it's not very frequent, I can tell you
that.
that.
It is time that we change that. What say you?
I say yay!
And what say you, audience? They say gong!
The most
And welcome to the INVICTUS stream, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight, we are playing a brand new one-shot called The Wall. That's right. Tonight is a awesome role-playing experience that we are going to be using the Chronicles of Darkness system for, which is a really cool, creepy system. Whoa!
Oh no, not the Chronicles of Darkness!
That's right. We have rolled up characters. We have our dice apps open. We are diving into this thing deep, and I'm so excited, ladies and gentlemen, to be here. And I'm so excited to be here with you guys. Are you guys excited to be here with me?
Yes, so exciting to be here with the.
Chris just looks concerned.
I'm just it's been. I hope I can uphold what the INVICTUS has become. And
The
Chris is
standard
just thinking
that
to
you
himself,
have previously brought
that's
to
grown
us.
God, don't put me through another Terminator 3 or whatever it was.
I forgot that was the last time the three of us played together.
Jump the shark.
Yeah, that was the jumping the shark. You're right. It all went downhill after that. Ladies and gentlemen, this is, of course, an 18-plus show. That means we're going to say no words, such as pee-pee, poo-poo, and probably butter bum. Alex, give us the warning.
It's a warning time. Warning! The following content may not contain material that is of a matter to your younger children's subject. It's not limited to, and just
He tried, guys.
Your discretion is advised.
That's right. It is an 18-plus show. So if you feel that you are not mature enough to watch the content that is going to come your way, then you exit this video. But before you do, you make sure to like and subscribe to us on YouTube. Also, jump over to the Twitter. I turned on notifications, so I'm going to start answering tweets. Honest. You can follow us at INVICTUS Stream. What does that remind you of?
Beetlejuice.
RTB. But
Well, Chris got the more logical answer. Alex got the more Guthrie answer, which is.
I'm sorry I didn't get the Guthrie.
Why didn't you get the Guthrie answer, Chris? This is where your mind should be at. Always. ABG. Always be Guthrieing. What were we talking about? Oh yeah, join the Facebook group.
Oh.
The Facebook group. Oh, the Twitter at INVICTUS Stream. Also, you can follow us on Instagram at the INVICTUS Stream. And finally, join us on Facebook. When you join the Facebook group, all the cool things happen. You get to join a community of really awesome people that share ideas and stories and suggestions about RPGs, about everything. It's like the best
You never
place to be
know.
ever.
If you join the Facebook, you might end up meeting a space cook.
What?
I guess that's a possibility. And
Get it?
also other
A
rhyming
space
things.
cook, right?
Someone's been reading too much Dr. Seuss to their kid. Finally, when you join the Facebook group, you earn a chance to win the most valuable post. The most valuable post is the post of the week that we sort of rise out amongst the ashes of all the other stuff going on, and we distinguish with a bit of a reward, a little bit of an experience point. So, this week, I would like to award it to Mr. Trevor Todd. That's right. So it's a really weird one this week. So this is technically my post, but he commented and helped. So basically, there was this story that I remember reading when I was really young from this book that actually inspired tonight's game. There's another story in it, but called Timur and the Furnace Troll. And it's written by John Barnes, and I could not for the life of me find it in any format, PDF or otherwise. I just couldn't. I wanted to read it. And Trevor Toth found out that he had an old audiobook recording, and it even sounds like he recorded it from a tape to a phone and then sent it to me. So I
Wow.
finally got to listen to the story again, and it is a good one. So we're going to post that later this week that you guys should all listen to. Thank you to Trevor Toth for doing that. You win the most valuable post, my friend.
MVP.
And Trevor's one of our earliers. Like, he's been around for a long time.
I even remember that name.
Yes.
You even remember it.
I remember Trevor.
He's
For
the
the-
Canadian.
all the people that don't know who
goalie.
you are right now. There's a lot of people who have no idea who you two are right now. That's
true.
that's how many new members we
Still
have.
terrible.
What?
Feel like just another.
I wonder if there's more people who don't know who I am. That's the real question.
No, you know what the thing is? A lot of these people joined from Call of Cthulhu. So actually, I'm wrong. A lot of people that joined are so fucking amped that you two are here right now because they know Eddie is gonna fuck some shit up.
Oh yeah. You don't want to meet Eddie.
You want to get in Eddie's face, he'll take you out, man. He'll punch you right in your fucking nose, man.
All right, so tonight we are playing the Chronicles of Darkness system. Really brief overview. Basically, it uses D10s, and they have made up character sheets as such. They're going to be combining a relevant attribute with a relevant skill and roll that number of die. Any 8, 9, or 10 is a success, and they get to succeed at whatever they were doing. You only need one success to succeed. Multiple successes during combat, however, act as damage, so that's always a good idea to do. There are other things sort of sprinkled in throughout there, but that's the basic. If Chris wants to try to open an iron gate, he can use his strength and a relevant physical skill, such as maybe athletics.
Seems relevant.
Yeah. And then he would pool the die. So his strength is 2 and his athletics is nothing. And unfortunately, because he has a -1 and he's unskilled, he would only roll 1 strength die. And he would have to get an 8, 9, or 10 to succeed. If he had a 10, it would explode and it would give him an additional success, which would be really great because they can stack. But other than that, that's basically the rules. Pretty straightforward, right, guys?
Yeah. I like exploding dice. I like that.
I think of Deadlands.
I just constantly am so afraid of them exploding in my hand that I want to get them out of my hand as soon as
You roll
possible.
far away from your face.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
really
always.
hot. And also that's like when you have to drop it like it's hot because they're.
Yeah.
I use those martini stones to roll die sometimes. They don't even have numbers on them.
No. So
No.
You can't win or lose.
That's the way I like everything. It's like the participation ribbon of RPGs.
And roll the
It just
That's
makes
the
you
way.
it just makes you feel involved. Roll the die. It doesn't matter what the result
I'll
is.
still decide if it works.
Exactly. Well, that's really how a lot of our systems work anyway, isn't it, though? That is it for me. I said everything we wanted to say. Yeah, I mentioned you guys. I did the 18+. That's it. Should we start this thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's Joe and Justin? Did they go on a sabbatical too?
Justin is on vacay right now. He's on a river cruise, and Joe is working.
So they didn't take a year off also.
No, they don't take time off. They actually care
They're
about
committed.
people.
What
Just
people?
kidding.
I'm
got a new
kidding,
location,
too.
a new house. Actually,
It's
that's a really good.
paternity leave. That's what it
It's
was.
paternity leave for you guys. Actually, that's totally fair. It really was. I will say this though. A new thing has happened since you guys have left, or at least Chris has left. We have a Patreon account now. In the link, in the description rather of this video, is a link to our Patreon. If you like what we do, and you love Chris's smiling little face, oh my god, who could love that? So cute. Then please consider supporting us on Patreon. You can back us at $3, $5, or $10, and you get different rewards. At the $5 reward level, you get all of our campaign notes for the month. You're going to get tonight's game in your pocket, as well as their character sheets. You're going to get, at the $10 pledge, you're going to get this, and you're going to get a private video recorded by us talking about what's going on in our lives and what's coming up with the Invictus stream. And it helps us pay for a lot of awesome stuff like podcasting fees and XYZ. So thank you so much for our patrons who currently support us. And if you don't, please consider it because it would make us really happy.
And less poor.
Yeah, well, eventually let's aim for that. That's the goal. I think that's it. Let's start this bad boy off. All right, I'm gonna play the credits, and since you guys are so like behind, mute yourselves. I'll do this, and then we'll start the game. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, the wall. I understand your position. No one recalls when the wall was built. It was well before the villages were built. Well before the green began to fade. Well before now. On the far side of the wall are the wraiths. Some call them monsters. Some pale creatures born from the blackened fires of hell. Most call them nightmares. I'm no stranger to those words. On the other side, your side, are the stalkers, living off the faded lands, hunting, fishing, living lives filled with peace. And so it was peace until the wraiths began coming from behind the wall. At first there were only whispers, I'm sure, tales of the boogeymen leaving their world beyond the wall to curiously scout the nearest villages. Then tale became truth as word spread of the attacks. The details took many forms, some through those left alive after the creatures came, spreading fear and fire. Now word is spread less and less. Villages have gone dark. Word has come to whisper, and you await the day that whisper comes for you. The two of you stand in light rain, mud around your feet. You stand in a crowded, busy area of the center of your small village, looking at the gallows. A man stands up there. Hem, you recognize this man, Renald Court. A fine man, a man that you know fairly well. He was someone who did some odd work for you in the tannery not too long ago. He's a relatively trustworthy man, although you always had your suspicions. Virgil, you don't know much of this man. The two of you sit side by side, watching this man on the gallows as they slowly but surely string a rope around his neck. Hem, who are you?
Hem slowly squashes a wasp nettle that's biting his neck, and he sees it between his fingers. He squishes it and lets it drop to the mud beneath him. Hem is a cruel man. He's a man with not very many friends. Not a lot of people understand him because he's just so abrupt. And, he doesn't come across with niceties and kindness, but he does have a good heart underneath. And he wonders at the man who's at the gallows. He thinks to himself, that man is lucky in a way, because a lot of people will remember him. I wonder if that would be the same thing if I were up there. I doubt it. Hem is ambitious at the same time. He doesn't have much right now, but he hopes one day to have a real place, a place that's not some hobbled home that he's put together, some place that's permanent in the town where people can come and visit and even maybe share a meal. Not many people spend time with him, and the few people that he knows are nearby, Virgil being one of them.
And Virgil stands next to you, watching the same sight. Virgil, you didn't know Renald that much. You know him from your friend Hem, who had him work once or twice. And as you watch the noose being slung around his neck, you think to yourself about the circumstances before you as well. Who is Virgil?
Virgil is a middle-aged man, and I own the potato farm just at the edge of town, at the edge of the village. I am a potato farmer. It's what I do. It's what I've always done, and I love it. It's an amazing trade to be in, to see these potatoes and then take them to the market and sell them. But I'm also a heroic man, a romantic heroic, you could say. In fact, I don't mind taking up arms against a bear that might come onto my property. With only a spear, they can sure be a hell of a beast to take down, but I can do it. And you know what? I wouldn't be the last person to stand up to an abusive character new to the village, I'd put him in his place and show him who's boss. Of course, at the same time, yeah, circumstances permit. Why go through the trouble? I mean, why leave town? I've got my wonderful home, my homestead that I live on at my potato farm with my wife Sophia and our too many kids to name. And I've got my roots down here, just like my potatoes.
And
so
as
why
you feel
leave?
confident in sort of assessing your situation and thinking, the rain is sort of wetting your clothes through and through, and you hear a voice off to the side, "Get on with it!" And the crowd sort of murmurs, and your eyes both dart back up to the gallows, and you see the man now, the noose being tightened around his neck, and he turns to the crowd. And the village elder, Monty DeBrand, turns towards you and reads off his crimes and says, "Renald Court, you are sentenced to death. Hang by the neck until you are dead for stealing. Do you have anything to say?" And he sort of turns to the crowd, and he's a gaunt man with thinning hair, young-ish, maybe in his mid to late 30s, although he looks much older based on just the years of wear and tear on his skin. And he turns almost with open arms and addresses the crowd and says, "I only stole bread for my family so they wouldn't starve. Please, please, you must do something." And the man next to him sort of steps back and says, "Is there anything else to add?" And he sort of shakes his head sadly. And Monty steps back. And the floor is drawn. And he falls. And with a wet crack, you hear a gasp come over the crowd. The young ones in the front sort of turn away to their parents, and the crowd begins to disperse.
I walk forward to just a few feet from where the man hangs. I'm looking him in the face. I say, "Virgil, if he had just asked for some food, I would have shared what I had. He deserves this."
And I approach next to Hem, and I say, "You know what, Hem? I don't think anybody deserves that."
It's part of life, Virgil. People die, things die, thieves die. It's what he deserved. And turn to walk away.
And as you do, Essen Felt, one of the town hunters, is sort of standing next to the three of you and watching the body, and he kind of turns with you and begins walking alongside the two of you in the muddy area of the center of town. "Jesus, I'm never going to get used to hangings like that. I don't know why they don't put the hoods around their heads anymore. It's going to scare the kids half to death watching the eyes pop out."
Yeah, well, maybe they won't be stealing any bread then, eh? I kind of look at Hem for some acknowledgement.
How long is it customary to leave the body hanging?
And you turn around, you can see them already starting to cut him down. And
Okay.
Essen sort of turns back and says, "Oh, just gives me the willies. Virgil, you're starting to sound like Hem there, wanting the people to be scared of stealing and things like that. You're getting colder with these times."
Oh, I don't know if it's me getting colder. Maybe it's me getting wiser. Or maybe it's me just not wanting to necessarily speak my voice all the time.
Say, Hem, did you hear about the guy that they have in the jail over there?
No, I didn't.
Oh, you were out town all day, weren't you?
Yeah.
Who's that young one you have now? There's that pretty thing. I saw her near you. She's
Talking
maybe...
about Sophie.
Yeah. No, Stephanie was the one, right?
Stephanie, yes. She's been helping me quite a bit. She's a wonderful girl, Virgil's daughter.
She's a pretty little sorry.
That's
yeah.
right.
Oh,
My daughter. So you better watch what you're saying there. I heard you say
my
what?
apologies, Virgil. I didn't know you have so many kids. I didn't know. She's what? But she's maybe 15, 16. She's up there.
I
no?
think she's only 13.
Well, and I didn't say anything, and you see him getting sort of red and walking away from me. I meant she looked pretty with it. I meant she looked able with the
You just keep walking, all right? Keep your eyes on the ground.
Right. Sorry. And he sort of turns around and then stops. And says, "Oh no, I did want to tell you about the guy in the jail. Just you should stop by. A real creepy looking fella. He came from out near where the wall is, they say."
Really?
And he sort of ducks and says, "Yeah. But anyway, you keep an eye on that girl, Virgil's girl. She seems nice." And he turns around and just sort of fades away, leaving the two of them in the courtyard.
You know, I have so many kids. I almost forget I have so many kids. And there comes a time where you got to stop worrying about your kids, you know? So.
You wouldn't have to worry about
She'll be all right.
Yeah. She's quick and smart and more than able to take care of herself.
I agree. She's my favorite. She's my favorite of all my kids. My one and true favorite. But what do you say about this prisoner? I mean,
if he's got stories about the wall, I mean, I'm always eager to learn about things like that.
I don't think I've heard that word come up in, I'm gonna say at least a year or two. The wall. What are your thoughts on the wall, anyways? It can't be real.
Absolutely, it can be real. I've seen things in the wilderness here that would baffle most men, and I think there are things that we still have yet to encounter in this world. And the wall, just because we can't see it and we hear stories few and far between, doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It's out there.
It's true what you say. I mean, I agree. You can't see everything, or you have to believe that some things are out there even though you can't see them. But I don't know. But if he has some information, or this prisoner, I wouldn't mind going and listening.
Harlan, what was the reason he was taken in? We don't know. Just know that he's a creep.
Yeah, you don't know. You just heard that he was in jail. And
what was
creepy?
What was the slimy little fellow's name there?
Essenfeld. He wasn't slimy. You just didn't know it was your daughter.
Right. No,
it's not his fault.
No, I know. Essenfeld.
So I decided to make my way to the prison.
And as you're walking through the village, what we see is sort of a muddy, board-ridden, almost like a Bronze Age-esque town. We see people moving between buildings, trying to get out of the rain. The newest buildings are made with wood. So many of the buildings are still mud huts, despite the age of the village, which is, fairly old. And it's purely just because of the transient nature of your people, first and foremost. And secondly, it's all you've ever known. You've grown up in the idea of using the earth to your benefit, fishing and natural sort of agriculture, despite the fact that the green, which is sort of what you call the general woods and the fields, has been darker year over year. And slowly it just feels like the elders would say that the earth is dying. And as you work through town, you approach the sort of jail building, and describe it to me.
Of the other, compared to the other buildings, this one seems obviously the most fortified. Even using some of the river stones for foundations. Obviously, it's meant to stand up to people trying to get out. Ham looks at it enviously. He sees permanence. He sees something of repute, something that people can look at and know its purpose and know that it belongs. Compared to my tent made from old hides sewn together, this is a castle, a chateau, and it stands oddly proud in this village, considering what its purpose is. Being that this is, we just saw a hanging. It's kind of a focal point in the town.
Yeah, but in actuality, as we're both approaching the jail, like Ham says, we look at it proud though, because it was only in our youth that really we helped to build this out of the river stone and the mud, packing it in to create the cell walls. Ham and I built this, us and other village men,
It's true. The sense of camaraderie within your village, despite the grisly nature of the death you just witnessed, is very much there. It's more the outsiders that have the difficult time, such as Renald, who's only arrived at your village from a previous village a few years ago. And as you walk up the wooden steps to the sort of the jailhouse, you're greeted by Andre Paulpet, the sort of the sheriff or the town warden, as you call him. He's the person sort of responsible for herding people together and making sure that order is kept, despite the sort of tribal nature of your village, and you're all very responsible for your individual houses. He sort of keeps a general rule. So for the most part, the jail cells stay empty. And as you walk inside, you're greeted by him warmly. How's it going, guys?
Hey, Andre.
Good afternoon, Andre.
You guys are interested in the prisoner we got, eh?
Yeah. We heard he's quite the creep.
Yeah, no. Listen. You're not the first person to come by. We've been having people coming all day. It's almost like something to do. Especially the young kids keep coming in and trying to get back there. I decided not to let any more in, but I mean,
Really? And I lean in with intrigue. Really?
yeah.
What's so intriguing about him?
Well, and he sort of looks around, and the jail cell's sort of off a tight corner in this room, and he sort of motions to the bench, and he sits down next to the two of you as you all sort of motion towards the bench, and he sort of talks in sort of a hushed tone. He says, "Listen, this guy came into town maybe last night, right? And all he was trying to do was, I think, get some food. He wasn't exactly stealing. He was asking people for stuff, just supplies, because I mean, otherwise he'd be on the gallows with Renald today. But something about it offset people, so we had him in for questioning, and the stories this guy was telling started getting me all, I don't know, I guess uncomfortable. It's got some of the elders uncomfortable. Monty DeBround is the guy, Mayor Monty. He's the one who wanted me to lock him up. And the guy came amicably. It's not like he's itching to get out. I'm sure we're going to let him out, but...
What? He didn't do anything? You just locked him up?
No. He was sort of harassing people. He was asking people for money and, or food, rather.
Oh, okay. All right.
You know Monty, but when it comes to this, we don't know who's coming from where.
No. Suspicious characters? Yeah.
He's the one who mentioned the wall, that he came from the wall. And I think he sort of
said he came from the wall. And I look at Ham. He came from the wall. He came from the wall?
That's what he says. I mean, he said it last night when we were bringing him in. This morning, he's tight as a clam. I don't
Smell of alcohol when he came in?
No. Guy's sober as anything.
Maybe he's a lunatic then.
I don't know. I don't really know what to make of him. Right now, I'm kind of just excited that he's here, and more importantly, I'm just trying to keep my head down and not get too curious. Once it starts rattling in there, I have too many questions.
I got my fair share of questions myself.
Yeah, me too.
Can we go talk to him?
Oh, shit, Ham. I don't know, man. I mean...
Listen, Andre, I can see your boot there needs some patches. I got some fresh beaver pelt that I just got, and I'm sure if you came by the shop and I was in the right state of mind, I'd be more than willing to patch that for you.
Perfect. Give me a roll.
Social. I should have just intimidated him because this. Let's take a look here. We got
I would say presence.
Presence, good. Okay.
And I would probably then say crafts.
Oh, right, because I'm trying to say my work is
which gives you 7 die to roll.
Whew, that's great.
All you need is an 8, 9, or a 10.
1.
7 d10s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 7. Throw. So 2 9s.
Perfect. 2 successes.
Perfect.
Wow, and I thought 7 was going to be like a slam dunk. That's pretty tight still.
Yeah, it was.
So, yeah, he kind of looks you up and down. He looks down at his boots, and sure enough, there's a hole right in the side of him. He says, all right, I can give you guys 5 minutes, but listen, don't get him riled up. I mean, he seems like a pretty stoic guy, but just be careful. And he sort of walks back to his desk and sort of nods to the back room, which you both know so well.
Too well.
Well, yeah, maybe.
Been in there a few times. We give him a nod and walk in. I walk in.
Perfect.
I'm talking for you, Virgil. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm right behind you. Hey, good thinking about offering to fix his shoe there.
Yeah, I hope it's worth it. That's that hide is quite valuable to me.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll bring you some potato, and my wife she planted some leeks this year. I'll bring you some potato and leek soup. Sounds
good.
You round the corner to the darkened back of the jailhouse, and as you approach, you see the iron bars, and you see a figure sitting in the back of the cell. He's leaning on his knees, and he's sort of hunched over, and he has a hood drawn over his face, and sort of a long sort of riding cape covering it, and it's sort of
look,
thick.
you're going for to try to clear your name, kind of.
Yeah, right. Sort of like a thick,
Something to
dark
not look suspicious in.
leather, and as you sort of enter, his head sort of just turns to the side slightly, but you can't see his face just yet.
I reach into my pocket, I pull out a piece of jerky, and I start biting into it. I give a piece to Virgil.
And his head sort of turns a little bit as well.
Yeah, this stuff is fairly fresh. I smoked it a couple weeks ago. What do you think?
Oh, this is delicious.
I lean against the bar, and I chew it, bite off another piece. You hungry?
And you just, without stirring, he says, famished.
Let me give you something here. I grab a piece of jerky, and I go to give it to him. Maybe for your story. I give him.
And he stands up, or he sits up, I should say, and you see for the first time his face sort of cloaked in the hood. And as he peels back his hood, you see an older man with a white beard, sort of a gray-white, and white hair sort of combed to the side almost messily. And a deep scar sort of coming down from his forehead to below his cheek, and an eye patch. And his face is weathered and sort of deep with cracks as he sort of sits back and looks at you with his one good eye.
Without putting my best foot forward, I'm actually a little startled by his appearance, and I take a step back.
And he
And
stands
actually,
up.
so do I. So do I.
And he stands up sort of limberly, and he walks towards you. And he takes the beef jerky from you and bites it and begins chewing it.
Beef is a kind of word for this jerky.
It's not beef?
Donkey at best, maybe.
Turtle jerky? And he begins biting. He says, for a story, eh? And he walks back to the cell and puts a foot up. And he's an older man, but he sort of walks and acts with a youthfulness that is surprising to both of you. And with his head against the back wood of the wall, chewing, he says, "What do you know of my story?"
And I eagerly approach the jail cell bars, and I say,
Yeah, well, we heard you came from the wall.
I have.
So tell us about it.
Tell you about the wall. What do you want to know about the wall?
Everything. Is it as big as they say it is?
How big do they say it is?
They say it's hundreds of meters high.
I heard several hundred.
Thousands, in fact.
Wow, come on, it can't be thousands.
That's got to be. It's the hundreds of thousands, probably. I
even know the number 1,000. Anyways, that's a concept I can't even fathom.
He just chews sort of slowly, looking at you two.
I hear it goes above the clouds.
And why was it made? Was it made over the course of centuries, or was it made in the original separation of the Wraiths and the Stalkers?
And why did they separate? And how thick is the wall?
Anything.
Yeah.
Just tell us anything about it.
And how did you get across the wall?
Shut up, Virgil.
No, you shut up. Listen, we're listening.
It is hundreds of meters high, and it is made of a stone that you've never seen before. It almost glimmers in the light, the way the stone reflects. That's exactly between the bars.
Oh my gosh.
Beyond that, you don't want to know what's beyond the wall.
You've been beyond the wall.
Over and above? or under and below, or maybe there's a door through it.
How about this? You come back tomorrow, a little bit more of that beef jerky, and maybe, and he stands back up, maybe something a little more meaty, like a steak. God, even some potatoes. I heard you talking about leeks. I'll take that too.
I just look over at him and I say, "Oh yeah."
You come back with an actual good meal, and I'll tell you what's beyond the wall, what's around the wall, what it fucking tastes like. I don't care.
Taste.
And he walks back to his corner and he flips down his hood. But for now, I need some fucking sleep. And he sort of bends over and he curls up onto one of the wooden benches.
And I kind of wander out a little aimlessly with my head in the clouds out into the street. And I don't even realize if Hem is behind me, but I start to speak anyways.
Wow. We're gonna actually hear about the wall. The wall. What even is the wall?
And I turn back to look at Hem. Is he there?
Yeah. I was thinking about leaving you hanging, but I figured.
Funny.
Can you imagine what he has? The things he can tell us.
Oh my God, Hem. You know, I stopped dreaming about the wall in my 20s. I always thought I would have the courage to go out and find the wall and see it for myself. Maybe
There
even
you
climb
are.
over the wall.
You hear
Oh.
mid sort of thinking, and you turn, and both of you see Stephanie walking over, and she's got sort of big slacks of wet leather over her shoulder and sweat from her brow. Hem, you said that you were going with my dad to the hanging and that you wanted me to finish this work. I didn't expect I would be doing it until we had to close.
You got it all done, Stephanie.
Yeah, of course I did. But it's too wet out here to dry. I need to bring it inside the tanning rack, and you have the key.
Well, you've done enough. And I walk over and I take it off her shoulder. And I pat her on the head.
And she sort of smiles like fondly at that, and she sort of says, "Thanks, Ham. I made sure," and she sort of lifts one of the skins off the top. She says, "I made sure to get the undercoating like you showed me. You can feel it already." And she sort of runs her free hand.
I feel the grain of the leather. I don't think I could have done better myself. Stephanie, soon you'll be running this place without me.
And Stephanie is a young, peppy, kind-hearted girl. For many years, she ran around the town, always curious, always wondering. She would be the first person in to a new visitor. She'd be the first person asking about the wall. And Hem, you and Stephanie had spent a lot of time sort of talking and dreaming and pretending about the wall. And you see her sort of...
Sorry, continue in just a second, but I turn, and that's when I kind of turn to Hem and I say,
By the way, I was just lying to Essen. You know, Stephanie, she's 17 now. She's a good kid, good worker. And thanks for helping her out.
continue, sorry.
And she sort of sees you and says, "Oh, hey, Dad, how's it going?"
Hey, Steph.
Oh, hey, sweet
Well, since you got all this done, maybe I'll show you how to set some snares.
Oh, could you? That would be fantastic.
You know, I can set you snares, show you just how to set snares too, Steph. You know that?
Yeah, your dad could do it, I'm sure, as well.
Yeah, no, Dad, it's not that you can't show me. You've already showed Tom and Roger how to set snares. It's just, I know you're busy, and I mean, Hem, he does it for a living.
Yeah, of course. Oh, of course. Plus, I've got to get some potatoes and leek soup going for tomorrow. Anyways, so.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Dad.
I-
Hem, I'll drop these
No
off
problem.
at your place, and then I'll go home, Dad, and I'll be there for dinner. And you can just bring them inside when you're done. And she tries to take them back from you.
Hey, you go with your dad today. I'll see you first thing in the morning.
Oh, okay. All right. And she sort of walks towards you, Virgil, with a bit of like a regretful, like, "Oh, okay, yeah, Dad, let's go."
Oh, all right. Yeah, to home we go. And so, I guess we part ways.
I know I'm
And-
gonna actually drop the pelts off, and I gotta figure out a way to get a steak. So I'll go get my bow and see if I can check some snares and see what I can do.
And I
Okay.
kind of feel like this is the point in SimCity when we press cheetah and you're like, and then
Yeah,
we meet
sort
back
of.
here tomorrow.
In The Sims.
Super
No,
hungry.
but I do want to hear a bit of what your home looks like, Virgil. You enter your home with Stephanie, and she sort of immediately heads off to her room. Your relationship with Stephanie, how has it been?
My relationship with all of my children it's a distant relationship. I'm not gonna lie. I've always tried to be close with all of my kids, but never truly successful. My work always takes over, and that's what Sophie's for. Sophia, my wife, she was always good with the kids, but they just grow up so quickly. I mean, hell, we've got, I'm sure, 11 or 12 of our own, and then of course there's the kids that we've taken in from the community. And I enter my home, and it's this enormous mud hut that is kind of like a big long bungalow, in that it's got a main dwelling, and when you enter, it's all dried mud walls and the fire's going, and it's very warm and cozy. And then there's a hallway that goes back, and there are several rooms for several of our kids that still live at home. And I walk in, and Sophia, my wife, is making food, and she's just beautiful. She's tall and slender, and the older kids are feeding the younger kids, and there's other kids that are much older that are cooking dinner, and she's the matriarch of the family. But I enter, and we chit chat about our days, and I continue to chop up leek and make potato and leek soup.
Perfect. And as you sort of continue your night, the kids eventually go to bed.
Yeah.
And you sort of are on your way to bed yourself, and you see Stephanie exit her room and sort of look at you startled.
Oh, I'm really glad that you're working with him. Stephanie, you've always been my favorite of all my children.
Dad, I mean, I don't think you're supposed to say that.
Well, I only say it to you, and you're not going to tell your siblings, but you're just such a bright kid, and you've always been a bright kid, and I think there's a bright future ahead for you, and if you stick in this trade or any trade that makes you happy, you're going to find something that just makes you so invigorated that you're going to want to go off and make yourself great and make this side of the wall great again. It's I'm sorry, I had to do it.
Thanks, Dad. I appreciate it. I thanks. And she sort of holds something behind her back, and she sort of walks out to the main living room of the house.
What's? But I don't go there, and I don't ask. Actually, I don't ask what she's got.
Okay. Good night, Dad.
Good night, Stephanie. Are you not going out, are you? The sun went down just half hour ago. You've got only about half hour before it's totally dark.
No, I know, Dad. I have.
Your mother and I never want any of you kids running around after
Dad,
dark.
I know. I need to.
Well, there are
return
wild
some-
animals out there.
I
for
know,
crying
Dad.
out loud.
I'm perfectly fine at that.
You don't understand, Stephanie. You're still a young girl. You can't be going out.
Dad, I borrowed something from him that I need to return, that he needs tonight. I will be right back. Go to bed.
I can take it. What is it?
Dad, it's not your responsibility. It's my responsibility. I can do this.
Stephanie,
Go to
it's
bed.
dark outside. God damn it. Show me, what is it?
And she holds out, and it's a key. She says, I forgot to give him back the key. I need to give it to him. I can do this.
I should go with you. And I turn
No,
around.
I'm
and start to
fine.
get ready.
She's like, I'm not a child. And as she turns away from you, she sort of pulls her arm away from you and says, Dad, I could do this. Just go to bed. You've never been a father to me before. Don't fucking start. And she walks out of the house. and the door slams.
Fade to black.
And Ham, you get to your home, and what do you do?
The first thing I do is I go over to the rack where there's a drying rawhide, and I grab a handful of salt and I rub it into the the pelt. Where I notice there's all my tools are away and taken care of, and I think Stephanie does such a great job. It's wonderful to think that I have an apprentice, someone that can carry on after me. And I pull up the hanging pelt that is my door, and I walk in, and I turn around and see the rain drizzle, and I see the town a little bit in the distance away from me. Obviously, the town doesn't want a tanner with all the smells and the blood and things to be too close. And I sigh at the cedar poles that are the structure of my building. I turn around and I go inside, and I look in the cold space that I have for food, and I realize there's not really much I can bring that's substantial for tomorrow. And as I do, I turn around and I see that there's some flowers that are cut and put on the table, something that Hen would never do. And I smile to myself and think, man, Virgil is such a lucky guy to have a daughter like Stephanie.
And you head to bed. And the two of you dream very few dreams, sort of weirdly interconnected visions of the day that you had before. And for a second, Virgil, in the night, you see the bloated face of Renald as he hangs from the noose. And the two of you are stirred from your slumber by screams in the distance.
And I sit up. I'm in a cold sweat.
And Sophie sits next up to you and says, What's wrong? And you can hear immediately screams outside from the village. You hear deep male bellows. You hear high-pitched screams.
Listen.
You hear the sound of and sort of an odd growling sound almost. And you being more farther out to town, but a lighter sleeper hen, you hear the same at a distance.
I get out of bed stiffly, and I go and grab my bow, my arrows, and I leave through the door to go towards town.
And as you open the door, you see the horizon of the town lit ablaze. Flames are licking the night sky. You see buildings on fire. You see people running through the streets, and you see sort of an array of people and children all scrambling for the river.
And I drop my bow, and I quickly go grab some buckets that I've created for all the different solutions, and I dump them out, and I run towards the river myself.
Perfect.
And same thing with me. I immediately sit up from sleep, and almost without hesitating, after I tell Sophia, shh, because I need to listen to what's happening, I grab the spear that sits right by my bed. It's a sharp steel tip spear with a wooden pole.
Perfect. And as you're outside again, the minute you're outside, you are also hit with the smell of burning. You smell smoke and almost like burning meat on the air, and you hear sort of that growl hiss coming from towards the center of town. And you see again everything on fire.
And instead of running for the river where I see everybody, I do run towards where I'm hearing growling and hissing. Mine is a more determination to find out what has caused the fire.
As I'm running towards the river, I see some younger men who are just standing there in awe, not moving. And me being not very good with people, I walk up to one of them and push him down to the ground. What are you doing? Take this! And I throw the bucket up. Get to the river!
Oh, okay. And he sort of picks up the river, and he runs, and he sort of stumbles over as he's running towards the river with the bucket. And you see another kid standing by, see that, and do the same type of thing, and then run to the river. And you know of the possibility of the impending tax of the Wraiths. The plan is universally wide for the town to cross the river and wait in the woods on the other side. And the woods on the other side of the river are sort of a dying wood that you do use, but there is sort of a backup plan that you all have. And as you are leaving your house, Virgil, you do see Sophia and the children, the boys, all running towards this sort of place, and you, Hem, even see sort of women carrying children walking across the river towards that. And as you look back towards the burning town, you see the silhouette of Virgil walking towards the center of town.
My question is the plan for women and children or everybody to go to this place?
It's for everybody to go to this place.
Because we're not warriors, so none of us are.
Exactly.
So, I guess I would not have sent them to get buckets of water.
No, there are some like sort of close by fires that they can be helping out with. This was
Right.
something that would still be useful to save some people, because there could be people still in town that need help.
Okay, then I will go towards town and try to help get people out.
Perfect.
And you see me, but in your mind, you immediately think to yourself, there goes Virgil again, because every time there's sort of something that comes up, Virgil is the one that feels like he needs to be heroic, and he's the one that heads into town. And sometimes, you know, it's a reasonable thing. I don't think, well, out of game here, Harlan, have we ever been attacked by the Wraiths, or is it always
No.
just a question? Okay.
It was
So-
always an impending fear.
Okay, so every time there's always been something that's going on, you Virgil is always the one to go in town. You kind of recognize this by now. So you're thinking to yourself, there goes Virgil.
And the two of you, actually, Virgil gets to the center of town first. And Virgil, as you get there, you see the jailhouse, and it's sort of just catching on fire from the building next to it. And you hear that sort of hiss on the edge of town. And I want you to give me a roll. Give me a, or not perception. Let's say a wits roll, maybe.
It would help if I had my character sheet out.
It would, but I have it here anyway. I guess
A
there's no.
wits?
What perception? What would perception be in this game?
What's
Track, maybe?
What?
Huh?
There's track.
Investigation.
Investigation?
Yeah, I guess it'd be investigation, eh? Okay, so yeah, we'll say a intelligence, or wits, or
Presence.
resolve. So yeah, one of those three, either intelligence, wits, or resolve. I guess wits. Give me a So give me a
Okay.
wits and whatever mental would work. Investigation or yeah.
Wits, and how about
Yeah, we'll call investigation. So you're gonna roll 4 die.
Okay, yeah. Investigation. So I did not hit any.
Okay.
I need
so-
a 7, 8, or a 9
correct.
or 10.
Oh, wait a minute. That's a 10, isn't it?
Oh,
Yeah,
that is a 10.
got one
I'm
already.
sorry. So that's an explosion.
Perfect. So roll that again.
So 1 hit. 1 hit.
Perfect. So yeah, you succeed. You also got a 1,
What about
but you did get 1, so you're fine. Because it's only on a 1 die that you would fail. So you succeeded, and you sort of turn your glance towards the hissing sound, this growling. And again, to paint the scene, the buildings, most of the buildings are licking flames to sort of the north of you. These buildings that were sort of once the town hall, small and sort of, you know, churches, things like that, almost are religious type buildings, are now up in flames. The jailhouse is now catching fire. But everything else is sort of still and silent. The screams are now sort of south towards the river. And as you sort of turn slowly towards the edge of town, the road that sort of leads away, you see a figure in the darkness. And you only see it for a second before it ducks off into the night. But what it looks to be is sort of like a loose-skinned creature, almost the size of a man, breathing fire. And it sort of looks towards you with a massive one eye. And it sort of turns away as the sort of the reflective of the fire catches the glare of its eye, and it turns away, its skin sort of sagging off of it, and it sort of lingers off into the darkness. What?
Chris says scrotum monster.
Not that saggy.
It's not funnier too because you said one eye. You know?
It's not like super saggy. It's like sort of just loose skin.
Much spookier than scrotum.
Like a scrotum.
Yes. And it turns away and it sort of fades off in the darkness. And as you sort of are staring, you feel a hand on your shoulder and spin around to see Hem standing next to you.
Ah! Oh, Jesus, Hem. Did you just see it as well?
See what?
You
You gotta
didn't see
you
it?
gotta get the prisoner out.
Yeah, but I mean, Yeah. We need to go. Get the prisoner out. Come on.
And you do hear a screaming, and
I
as
do,
you, yeah, as you sort of run towards the jail cell, you hear him, and he says, "Help! Help me!" And you run to the back, and you see him sort of at the bars, like, "Jesus Christ! I thought you guys were gonna leave me here to die. What kind of fucking town is this?"
I quickly grab like a club that's by the front. Obviously, the sheriff uses a weapon, and actually, I see the spear in Virgil's hand. And I grab an old piece of leather that I have, the strapping, and I tie it around and I twist. So I wrap it around 2 bars and I twist and twist until it compresses the bars and breaks them.
Perfect. So you begin doing that. Give me a strength roll.
Can I use my craft as well?
Yes, you absolutely can.
Thank you.
Well, that's a smart idea.
Let me see here. My character's craft was what, 5? 4?
4, I think.
4 plus my strength of 2 gives me 6. All right. 2 explosions. And
Perfect.
Is 8 or 9, 10?
8, 9, and 10 works. Yeah, so you succeed. Well, you can roll 2 more again, but yeah, actually roll 2 more again, because if you get 5 or higher, you get inspired.
5 or higher, you get inspired.
So you got 3 successes, but you do succeed. In fact, you begin twisting the bars, and one of them even comes loose, sort of leaving a really nice passage for him. And this man, again, who's sort of thin now that you see the side of him, sort of slides through with ease, and he looks at you with a grizzled face and says, "Thank you, we need to go." And he runs past you almost out into the night.
And we begin to run back towards the river, only to stop because he's heading a different direction.
No, I think he sort of hits the town and then turns to look to you where to head.
Okay.
Our rally point is in the forest.
Perfect.
That's where everyone's going.
The 3 of you make it through the town, and as you're moving through the town, you see that the fire had reached other buildings, but not that it just carried over, but that the creature had attacked these buildings as well. And as they sort of continue to burn down, the 3 of you move past into the river, past it, into the meeting point, and there you wait until morning.
So there's like a bunch of weeping people kind of gathered in the forest.
So again,
Robin Hood.
Expedite. So it's the next morning now, and basically after a very poor sleep, you wake up to smell the charred buildings sort of on the horizon, and the sun cuts through the smoky haze that's coming through sort of the barren trees as you look around at the village people who are all
Weeping
and crying, and some people missing. And as you sort of look around each other, you make your way slowly and hesitantly out towards Monty, who stands sort of near the riverbed, the mayor, and he turns towards you two and says, "Jesus Christ. We never thought they would hit this far."
I walk to the river and I throw my hands in the water and I splash some cold water in my face. Good morning, gentlemen. Well, it looks like we've got some rebuilding to do. That is not pretty. Does anybody know how this fire started?
And you see Monty sort of squinting at the village. He says, let's just wait here. Essen, and he sort of points, and Essen, the sort of slimy guy that you came to, not slimy, just he kind of walks over.
Yeah.
And he says, "You 3 come with me. We're going to cross the river and sort of take a quick survey of the land." And the 4 of you wade across the river towards the village. And as the smoke and haze sort of fill the rising sun in the village, it sort of creates this mist almost as you walk through, and you smell sort of charred meat and burnt wood on the air as you begin walking into the town. And you see buildings burnt to the ground. You see corpses sort of reaching into the air, burnt sort of in terrible tableau of pain. You see sort of pits of bodies sort of on the northern side of town that looked like they were sort of burnt in unison almost. And God. Monty just sort of looks around and swears under his breath, "Jesus Christ.
I didn't realize it was so bad. This This is terrible.
And
Oh
you
my
hear
God.
sort of a moaning. And as you walk over to one of the burnt buildings, you see a man sort of trapped under a beam, burnt almost completely. His third-degree burns almost all over his face. You see he's just in tremendous pain. And as he looks up to you, his eyes are watering. He's so burnt he can't even move his mouth. And you're muted. Wouldn't be Chris without accidentally muting
Once or
himself.
twice. I bent down and I realized he can't talk. He's in a rough case. So I pull out my knife and I cut his throat.
And Virgil, do you see this?
Yep. And
you see that-
had he not done it, I would have.
And Essen sort of walks over and says, Jesus fucking Christ, you didn't even give him his last... You didn't even say anything to him, just slit his throat. Ham.
What else is there to say?
I don't know. Tell him everything's going to be all right. Tell him he's going to be in a better place. I hope if I ever enter that situation, you give me at least a little bit of thought before I die.
If
You know what, Essen?
situation, you'll be in so much agony that you'll beg me to do the same.
That's exactly what I was about to say. You're such a stupid kid, Essen. You have no idea what's going on.
Jeez.
You can't save somebody when they're that badly burnt. They're going
It's
to be
not
living
about-
in agony.
I wasn't thinking saving him. I thought maybe giving him a bit of peace before ending his life. And he
That
sort
is
of turns away.
that is the most peace you can give. That's the most peace you can give, Essen.
And as he turns away, Monty sort of walks to the two and says,
Damn it.
I guess we will rebuild and hope that this time... And as he's talking, a figure emerges from the direction of the river. Nestra Fair is sort of an older woman, sort of acts as like a teacher of sorts. And she walks through the smoke and she's sort of staring around at all the destruction. And stares at... And almost is distracted as she approaches you three. Oh my God.
Nestor, what are you doing here?
Just the destruction and the death. It's just... I'm sorry. Monty, I did a count. There's 35 dead in total and 1 missing.
Holy God.
What do you mean there's one missing? You've already counted all the bodies?
No, Monty. And she sort of walks away and he sort of looks concerned and walks over and nods and turns back to you.
I look in the soil in the meantime for tracks.
Yeah, and you sort of begin to look, and then Monty speaks. Virgil, Stephanie was taken.
I stand up and turn around. What?
One
What?
of the members,
mean?
actually a few of them, Oren and Nestra, saw her being taken away into the night by one of the creatures.
From... They got into your home, Virgil, and took her?
No, she... No. Oh, no.
Let's just sit
I
for a
told
second.
her I was going to go with her. She had gone to your place.
In the middle of the night, you let her go.
Well, I didn't let her. She left. We had an argument and she left. She was going to drop a key off that she forgot to give
like
to
I
you.
care about a key. You let your daughter go in the night.
Don't giving me this hem. Do not even start with me. She's my daughter, and
Your daughter? Do you even remember she exists half the time? I mean, you're finding out now she's missing.
Don't even start.
Gentlemen, stop! And
collar
Monty
like
sort of
this.
holds his hands apart from you. He says, Stop! This isn't useful right now. Just listen. We've known, as I've shared with the town, that the villages have been attacked by these creatures every once in a while, but rarely.
Whew.
The village elders have told me that they do occasionally take. We haven't told anyone because it's frankly a more fearful thing than being burnt alive or killed by these monstrous creatures to be taken by them. But
So the one-eyed beast took my daughter. Is that what you're telling me? That wrinkly motherfucker?
One of the creatures did, yes. There was multiple sighted last night.
I didn't tell you about this earlier, Hem. But I saw one of these creatures. I saw it. Its big, ugly eye covered in long, droopy skin and breathing fire. I was going to tell you earlier. I just hadn't had a chance to. I didn't really believe my eyes. But if you're telling me one of these goddamned creatures took my daughter, well, by God, we take her back.
I knew you were going to say that.
Sorry.
The minute it got there. Monty looks at you and says, Virgil, I understand. I know how much you cared about Stephanie, but I'm sorry. There's no way.
How can I ever forgive myself?
And
I
he
push
sort of,
and I start walking towards where the prisoner is.
and you push past him, and he was with you at this sort of campsite.
And, you know,
uh,
and I
you
know
walk
something, or
right
say,
back through the river.
know
and-
something.
Yeah, you walk through the river, and as you enter the campsite, you see the man sort of leaning up against a tree near the back of sort of the villagers, just sort of by himself.
Smug son of a bitch. I walk up to him and I grab him and pin him up against the tree.
And he sort of just lets you.
Who's this?
The
Sorry.
jail.
Right.
Someone's been taken. You know what came, don't you?
Oh, he's only got one eye. Do I know what came? Yeah, I know what came.
So you know how to track the things. You know how to stop them.
Can you let go of me, please?
And I let him go.
Do I know how to track them? Yeah. But more importantly, do I know where they are going? Yeah.
So you know where they took my daughter.
They took her to the wall. They all
And I
take them
stop
to the
and
wall.
look around. I look around at everybody standing around us.
Well, I'm going.
Talk somewhere else.
What's that?
Maybe we should talk somewhere else.
No, we talk right here. And anybody that's not doing anything of any use is coming with us.
And Kittredge Dalt sort of leans up, and he's sort of an older man around your age with a few kids. He says, hold on, what are you talking about? Why are you bothering this criminal here? He was in the jail, wasn't he? What are you talking about, Virgil?
You know what?
And I look at Hem.
Maybe we should make this a little bit more private. You know, Catcher. Is that his name?
Kittredge.
Kittredge. My daughter's missing. She's at the wall. This guy
You hear a few
knows where the
punches.
wall is. Do any of you know where the wall is? Huh? Any of you?
Hold on, what do you mean your daughter was taken? And you hear Nestra Fayer again sort of over as she's walking back with Monty and Essen. She says, it's true, I saw one of those things take her last night. They took her off into the darkness. I could hear her screaming. And you hear a few people like, oh, and Monty sort of puts his hand up and says, ladies and gentlemen, listen. We've known, yes, that some of the other villagers weren't just attacked, but that occasionally one person would be taken away. But it's suicide to try to go after them. You have to understand that our best bet here is now to build or move.
And I stand up on my milk crate. There's a milk crate there.
Just in the woods.
Yeah, it's like a box or a stack of wood.
How about a log?
A log. A big
There you go.
fallen down tree.
There
Yeah.
you go.
And I stand on top of it and I yell out,
Now, any of you, if your daughter was taken, what would you do? Would you go find her? Would you?
and I look around at the
And
crowd
there's a
that's
lot
slowly
of sort
gathering.
well, and the thing is, there's a lot of sort of wet faces from tears, and there's soot on a lot of them from the burn village
Now,
that you've just left.
Many of you will have to stay here and help rebuild the village and help bury some of our dead. But who's coming with me? I'm going to the wall. I'm going to the wall. And I start pointing in a random direction. I don't know if that's the direction of the wall or not, but I'm going. And he's taking me. And I point at the prisoner.
And he sort of looks at you with an arch.
That's right. You're taking me. And I'm going to give you so many potatoes that you're not going to go hungry for the rest of your life. But you're taking me.
And you stand and you sort of look around at people as their faces, some of them sort of turn away, like trying to ignore a beggar. Some people sort of look heroic for a second and then look to their significant other or children and then sort of slink away.
And that's when it goes through my mind that maybe if I were one of them, I'd be thinking the same thing. You know, stay back here and watch my potatoes grow.
Hem, what are you doing through all this?
I realize that I have to go and that it's inevitable. So I go to a family, someone with some young children. I say, listen, I don't know how long this is going to take me, but my place was not ruined. It's just on the other side of the town for what's left of it. Use it until I'm back.
And you being sort of the town,
Tanner?
not cruel, but you're sort of, you're a bit of an outcast of the town. Yeah. The family sort of is like surprised and like, oh.
Just make sure it's clean when I get back and I walk away.
Oh, yeah, that's him. Yeah, never mind. I thought it was someone else for a second. No, but they're really touched by your generosity, and your giving spirit. I'm going to call that a virtue. I'm going to give you a willpower point for that.
Thank you.
That was a very good point that you did role playing wise. And you sort of turn back towards the man with one eye, and he sort of is leaning against a tree still. And Virgil, you realize that no one's really buying your offer, and Monty walks over to you and says, he looks up to you as you're standing on the log, and he says, Virgil, come down for a second. Listen, I
leap down.
I understand, and you need to do what you think is right. But consider a few things for a second. First and foremost, the family that you have. And he points over to your wife and your, 11 children. And they're all,
kids.
Looking over at you and shit. And he says, but beyond that, it's a suicide mission. You might not come back, let alone you come back with Stephanie. We don't know what they do with the ones they take.
And my eyes start to fill with tears as I look over at Sophia and the mound of children that surround her.
Just a literal mound.
And I step down off the log. I step down on the log and I walk towards Sophia, and the kids kind of spread away as I come through the crowd, and I look her in the eye and I say, you do realize I have to go for Stephanie.
And she looks up to you, and with tears in her own eyes, and she sort of quietly nods.
You kids be good. You kids be good, okay? And I look around at all the kids, and I look up at the older kids. I love you. I'll find a little girl.
And
I'll bring her back. I'll make you proud.
And they all sort of hug you and say they love you. And Hem, you are alone with the man now, and you're sort of, the crowd is sort of giving you space, and he's sort of leaning against a tree and says, why exactly do you think I'm going to take you to the wall?
Because if you don't, you're going to be put back in that prison.
I'm pretty sure that prison's burned down to a crisp.
That prison is, you're right. But where we're going to put you next is going to make that place look like a castle. Make that place look like home.
Listen, I've been threatened a lot throughout my life.
Because we need you. Because without you, Stephanie's gone. And she's the closest thing I have to family.
Well,
I think it's in you to do the same.
And he sort of looks you up and down with his one good eye. This girl that was taken, you said she meant a lot to you.
I look around to see if Virgil's close.
And Virgil's still over dealing with his family.
I consider her like my daughter.
And he sort of touches his chest a bit. Give me a roll. Let's call it a social... I don't like the word of manipulation because it sounds like you're manipulating him.
Presence?
Yeah, let's do presence. So we'll say 3 for your presence and -1 for empathy. So 2 die.
Yeah. We really do need him.
I hope you roll lucky.
Can I use a willpower? How's the willpower?
Absolutely. It adds 3 die.
Oh. So 2 fails, so I'll just add 3 die now.
Yeah, that's fine because I forgot about willpower as well.
So 7, is that a success?
It is not.
Is there anything I can do?
um,
Like a one-time thing for willpower, or can I use another one?
well, you also have your... You know what? I will give you your... Because I gave you a virtue...
My merits are indomitable.
Oh, hey, let's do Indomitable. That's good. That's like your spirit is like your...
Supernaturally, yeah.
It means
So
you're
it's
not giving up,
supposed to be-
right?
Yeah. Exactly. So
So
we
I
can
will-
see in the eyes that I'm determined.
Perfect. So I will let you roll 1 more die. 1 more die.
Thank you. As we do here on the Invictus stream. Sometimes.
We never die on the Invictus stream.
Nope, didn't work.
Nope. And he sort of looks you up and down and he says, I feel for you, I do. But I'm sorry, that's just not enough for me to go back there.
Then what is it going to take? You want a steak? I'll get you a whole animal. I'll get you the most beautiful pieces of meat I can find.
It's not that easy. It's... You don't understand. And he sort of begins walking away.
Then I guess I'll go without you.
And he stops. You're not going to get anywhere without me.
Well, I'm going.
You're going to die.
Then I die. It's...
And he stops and he turns around. You would die for this girl.
I would suffer for this girl. I would die, absolutely.
Jesus Christ. All right. Fine. Fuck it. But listen, there are a few rules. First and foremost, you do what I say, when I say, without question. If I tell you to jump, you jump. If I tell you to close your eyes, you close your eyes and you keep them shut until I tell you to open them again, okay?
Yes.
And when he says that, he sort of says it with an odd honesty. Specifically the closing your eyes thing.
I take it at face value.
All right. Just you then.
Unless I'm sure Virgil's going to come.
And Virgil, at this point, you've left your family and you're walking over.
And I'm kind of unsure. I'm asking myself in my head, how am I going to get this guy to take me to the wall? And I approach the two of them standing there talking.
Virgil, he's going to take us, but he says we have to do exactly what we're told.
Exactly.
You're going
what
to
I
take
said.
us?
Yeah.
I'll do whatever it takes. I'm getting my daughter back. We're going to the wall.
And he sort of looks surprised for a second. He's kind of like, sorry, this is your daughter?
Well,
It's his daughter.
And he sort of just shares a knowing look with you, Hem, and plays it cool. Okay. But like I said to your friend here, you close your eyes when I say close your eyes, and you don't open them until I tell you again. You keep your head down if I say keep your head down. You do not look up under any circumstances. Do you understand? I'm not fucking around here.
all right, but all right, whatever it takes.
You are going to see things that you have never seen before. You're going to experience things that will make your hair turn white and your blood run cold. If I tell you to do something, you do it without question, because it's not just your life on the line anymore, it's mine too.
Okay.
All right. Then we're going to the wall. And he sticks out sort of a gloved hand with its fingers sort of cut off, and he says, the name's Reaver. We leave right away. And we are going to end there for the mid-game post.
Pew, pew, pew!
Ladies and gentlemen, it's the part of the game where we stop the action and we jump to you, the stream, and we get down the something green.
Business.
You put on my teeth.
Put on your teeth. Chris has fake teeth, is what he's getting at.
Fake
Ladies
cheese?
and gentlemen, welcome to the mid-game post. This is, of course, The Wall. I hope you're enjoying it so far. These guys are doing such a great job. I'm really excited for this game to kick into overdrive, which is what it's going to do this last half. So it's going to be a short mid-game post because there's a lot to do. So let's do the question. The mid-game post question will be...
and don't forget, it's on Discord, so you got to go over to the mid-game post hashtag. The
Yes.
new one that he just
I
created.
literally just created right there. I'm going to post the question there. So the question will be, what
What?
is
His? What his?
the name of the man who was hung at the beginning?
Who was hung at the
What is the
beginning?
name of the man? What is the
And we're
name
not talking
of the
about
name? What is
We're
the
not
name
talking
of the
about
name?
Scrotum Man.
What
Who's
is
hung?
the man's
What is the name of the name who was hung?
name who was hung at the beginning?
Can I do a quick shout out?
Of course.
A quick shit out.
Show and tell kind of thing. See my mug I got for Father's Day?
Oh, that's awesome.
Hold on, let me
Yeah, my
lock
wife
on
did
you.
it for Rowan, I'm not sure, but
That is
it's like
so
got
cute.
kind of like Celtic runes on it.
That is
I
cool.
like that. That is very nice.
Yeah.
When you drink it, do you get Celtic power?
I get stronger.
Celtic power! By the power of Celt Skull. Is that a thing?
Nice.
It's probably a thing, right?
It's Grayskull.
Great, whatever. Same diff,
The power of
Well, I have to go on this mission with the ignorant farmer.
basically. And he is the most ignorant.
I'm a potato farmer.
Potatoes, the easiest thing to make. I played Stardew Valley enough to know that. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight you can also spend XP under the mid-game post. You can spend some XP to help them out. Standard menu. Yes, we're going to do standard menu. You can change, the environment. Make it rain, make it thunder, make it cloud, whatever you'd like. Additionally, I'm going to allow for tonight to spend, let's say, 1 XP to give them an additional die. I think that's sort of fair.
Well, worth it.
That's very
Should we have it?
generous.
With the way you've been rolling?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a tough roll, though. I didn't realize it would be so tough.
surprisingly.
Surprisingly. Okay, so we have a few right answers already. We have Renald, or it sounded like Renard. It's funny because the actual spelling of it was... I'll paste it.
Renard.
Renald.
Ronaldo.
This was the spelling. Renald Court.
Renaud.
But we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A perfect D6. Let's roll this and see who won tonight.
Well, thanks for everybody for playing the mid-game
A
post.
6. That gives it to the one and only Miss Megan. Who, I'm very happy that her power came back on. Because she did not have power up until probably a few hours ago.
No, she didn't have power till a couple of hours ago. No power till a couple of hours ago. Well, while Chris is away, I'm just gonna grab
Oh shit. Everybody cover your
the
ears.
guitar and I'll do this song called The Power of No Power. You see, when you've got no power, you get an extra power.
There you go, guys. See, Alex doesn't know that I can mute him, so he's gonna continue playing all he wants, and then we don't have to hear it. It's kind of like the best of both worlds. Let's check in and see if his song got any better.
But if it's during the day and you got no power, then you don't need a light, no.
Nope.
You don't need it to light candles. Alright, thank you very much. Woo!
Well done.
What can you do without power?
You can do probably a lot of things without power. You
sorry,
can still play acoustic guitar.
Did you have the sound on there, Chris?
What's that?
Did you have your sound on when you went to the bathroom?
I did, and I was rushed. I didn't even. Yeah, I rushed.
Sorry.
Thank you. Thanks, Chris. Just kidding. It was fine.
Hey, Mike.
People still clapped. They were happy for it.
Yeah. I think the clapping was prior to
They
me
said, "Oh my
singing.
god, that was the worst part."
You want to hear one of my dirty
They're
little?
hold on. They're talking about no AC. They're not talking about you. I'm just kidding.
Oh.
I got a dirty little secret I want to share.
Tell me,
What's the secret?
I like Nescafe.
what's wrong with that?
I don't know. It feels like it's like the dirty word of coffee.
Oh,
Nescafe.
baby. Listen,
Isn't
as
that
the
like
great
instant
as the
coffee?
great Chuck Berry said, "Live like you want to live, brother." Remember that?
Did he actually say that?
Yeah. When
say that
I
in Back to the
was
Future?
a little
Oh.
bitty boy. Remember?
My
We got
grandmother thought
We got
these
sisters
cute
singing
little
over here
toys.
in unison. That's all right, brother. Live like you want to live, girl. I got two sisters over
Yeah.
here in harmony. Like, he's just like fucking the best. We have 22 people watching and 17 likes, so we're gonna need you to jump over to the channel and give it a little bit of a like, please.
Yeah. If you're not liking it, then
We got
just gonna
5
end right here.
viewers on the stream here. Today.
why are you watching?
We're just gonna end. Don't give them that option. They'll end.
No, I'm just saying, if you're not liking it, why are you watching?
Like, that's right. Why are we
Why-
watching this?
hate
Let's
this
go do
shit. Why am
anything
I
else.
watching?
Why are we watching? Let's end it. Let's end it all. That sounded darker. I meant like end the stream.
Yeah, that's right. Why do we watch TV? Why do we have power? Click, click.
Whoa.
So Reaver, was
That's
this next part of the
dark.
story
That's how
inspired by a
dark.
story? Yes, this is inspired by a story that I'm going to tell you all about when it's done. So, Megan, you may have read this.
Is it a story you wrote, Harlan?
No. It's a story that
Plagiarism.
I read. Basically, it is, yeah. I'll credit them at the end. Or not. See how good it goes. If it's
Based
bad,
on the
I'll credit
story
Maybe
written
not.
by.
me. All right, we ready?
I'm ready.
Does my hair look good enough?
Can it ever? Yeah. Can it ever not? I mean, I was trying for a compliment. I was. I really was trying for a compliment. You know?
Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, we return to the wall. Oh, don't do that. Let me do the sound effects. Now I have to go through the podcast editing and find the fucking gong that Alex did and just delete it. Let's do this again, please. Without further ado, the wall. Reaver walks maybe 10 paces ahead of you as the two of you sort of try to keep up. He walks with a speed that surprises you again for an older man, his cape sort of blowing in the wind. And as you approach the farthest point that you've actually left the village from, the two of you sort of ask for a moment of breath, and he sits at a rock maybe 20 feet away from you and drinks from his canteen. The two of you also unload your packs and sit down.
Oh my god. I look back down the road and we're kind of at the top of a large hill and I see down there, way down there, it's our little tiny village that looks so small and quiet and still smoking and smoldering in the early morning.
I walk over to Reaver and say, I'm impressed by your pace, but why are we stopping?
Hey, you asked for a stop, not me.
Yeah.
I asked to stop?
We both
We'll say
did.
Virgil did.
Okay, I'm ready to go, and I pull out my backpack. You know, Rem, ahem, is this, have you been this far? I don't think I've been this far from town. At least not since I was in my early 20s.
Yes, I have been, but not much further beyond this. How much further do we have to go?
It'll be about a day.
To the wall.
Yeah, to the wall.
Wow,
pick up the
never
pace.
realized we were so close.
Oh no, it'll be a long, long day. And he says, most of it will be running. And as he stands up again, he takes off at a much quicker pace than before, and you're almost braking at a full run.
Oh. And I'm using my spear as a walking stick and really keeping up pace, but takes some conditioning.
For sure. And the two of you are sort of on his trail as much as you can be. And you run for a good long time. You cover a great deal of ground that really ducks and weaves sort of through a mountainous region. And eventually you sort of come through what must have once been a forest. It's all sort of charred down to its nubs. And maybe this is probably 5 hours later, because you left again at first light, and it's maybe 11-ish.
Do these things do this here?
And he stops and catches his breath as well. Says, yeah, and he points, and you see maybe, a couple, maybe a kilometer away, you see the charred ruins of what was also once a village. And he points, and the two of you sort of begin walking over, and he walks over as well. And three of you begin walking towards what was once a small village on the edge of this burned wood.
I can't believe.
Go ahead.
Why are they taking people? Why take Stephanie?
It's not relevant right now.
It seems very relevant. Are they working?
That doesn't make any
someone?
sense.
Do they do it? Are they going to? What happens when they get to the wall?
If they get her to the wall, we have very little time before they will kill her.
They're going to take her all that distance just to kill her? It doesn't add up. What are you not telling us?
And he sort of thinks for a second and looks towards the horizon. They think these creatures, they don't think like you or I. They're much less empathetic.
Are these wraiths?
What?
Wraiths. Are these wraiths?
Yes. These are wraiths.
So these are our long lost enemy, and they're coming to take and kill and pillage. This is what we've always learned about him. It's our long lost enemy that we need to take up arms against. We need to gather an army. We have to fight back.
Calm down, Virgil. You're not a soldier. Farmer.
But I'll be a soldier. I'll do it. I can.
Calm down. Listen, this isn't the battle that you want. It's not one that you can win. But these creatures, they think, for whatever reason, that Stephanie has something that they need. And they'll kill her for it.
Well, we can't stand around here any longer. I've caught my breath. Anybody would like a drink of water? And I hold out my canteen, and I take a swig, and I hand it back out.
And he shakes his head, and he says, no, I'm all right.
Then let's make way. Sorry, did you want some?
I did.
Okay, good. Here, and I pass you the flask.
And he turns and begins running again at breakneck speed. And the two of you are in an area that, again, you've never even seen before. You have kept so much of your life very close to that village. You have everything you need. It's why the village was sort of put there. The river provides plenty of fresh fish. The woods provide plenty of food, and you do 90% of your farming on the land. And despite it dying year over year and farming becoming tougher, the old age of people and the lack of births have sort of made it easy to sustain yourselves the way you are. However, it's always been a concern to be sustaining for the long-term future. You've organized yourself different than even you would realize in sort of a meta sense. You don't have the longevity of a village. It's not part of the makeup of what makes your civilization function right now, or your part of the world function. You just are, and you exist in a temporary mindset. And as the three of you run across the landscape, it changes once again. You sort of exit the last of the burned woods and enter to sort of this plain. These massive fields of just once flat land. And you stop for a moment and you feel something hard beneath your feet, and you look down and you see that you're sort of running along a pressed footpath, like a very fine path that it looks like carts have come back and forth over many, many, many times.
We seem to be getting closer to some civilization. I yell up to what's his name? Raynar?
Reaver.
Reaver. Isn't that you?
Yep.
Oh,
that's why it's my name.
Right. Okay.
I'm playing Reaver. You figured it out.
GM and Reaver.
Yeah.
I holler up to Reaver. This must be a pretty used merchant path, eh? At this point, I'm quite conditioned and keeping up pace and talking and running at the same time.
And he sort of just, continues running. He doesn't really say anything. Hem, what are you doing?
Have we ever been in a place where there's been like carts and things, or we're pretty rudimentary people, aren't we?
Very rudimentary. So yeah, no, this path just seems bizarre to you. It just seems like it's been trampled on by centuries of feet.
Yeah, and you said there's cart tracks and things?
Yes, we will say that. I mean, I guess you would have carts, yes.
Okay. Is the wall inhabited? Is there people at the wall?
And he sort of just shakes his head and he's running up ahead of you and he says, No, it's not. And he continues running. And eventually you leave sort of the path and he continues running in a direction, and the landscape once again changes. And you start passing these large sort of odd-shaped boulders, things that sort of have jagged, sharp edges. And he slows down to more of a crawl, or more of a pace, I should say, as he comes to this area. And he says, all right, I want you to be very careful through this area. It's very dangerous.
Yeah.
Virgil, why were you running from the wall? Reaver, why were you running from the wall?
I wasn't running from the wall. I left the wall. I visited it and decided that I didn't want to be there anymore. I was looking to get as far away from it as possible.
But yeah, I don't even know what to say. We've been thinking about it all our lives.
What is it about Stephanie? Is it a genetic thing?
A genetic thing? Where did you learn that word?
I remember a farmer once said that if you bred beans in a certain way, you could get a bigger crop, and something about it being passed on generation to generation. Did Virgil pass something on that they're looking for?
Sort of, yeah.
Really? Then why didn't they take me? God damn it! Why didn't they just take me?
It's not important right now. Just focus. We still have more ground to cover. But we need to go slow through this next part, so be very, very careful.
I'm going to be a little bit more vigilant moving forward of Reaver.
Vigilant?
Vigilant. Vigilant.
Sure. And he sort of begins working through this stone area. And it's sort of like, almost like a path through a mountain, but either side are covered in this sort of gray stone, but the shapes are sort of sharp and jagged. It's a very dangerous area, and yet there's sort of a path carved through it, a fairly wide one that he sort of takes. And as you move through it, the walls sort of become higher of the side of the stones, and you're sort of walking through almost a crevice of these sort of mangled boulders, spaces between them, all sort of casting sharp light from the day above. And it sort of becomes claustrophobic, though the path still remains true. And
this isn't natural anymore, obviously. It's all been put here? Is it, or is it like carved out of the stone is earth?
Sort of. It seems odd. It sort of seems like the boulders were sort of like crushed and like repurposed, maybe.
Are they shiny like he described the wall was made of?
No, it looks to be just stone.
Okay.
But different than your mind has seen. And as you sort of stop and look at it as a tanner's mind, give me a craftsman roll. Give me a craft roll.
Need a roll for crap.
One success. I got a 1 though.
Yeah, so you run it, and it looks like reconstituted stone almost. Like it looks like ground stone into smaller, like almost sand. And it's sort of, you look at it with a curious mind, and Reaver then stops and sees you. And he says, "Don't touch that. Let's keep moving."
How is this possible? And I keep moving forward, looking at it, occasionally wondering to myself what craftsman could create stone, could create rock.
And as he's walking, he sort of sees you being curious, and he pipes up, because you're now sort of at a pace as you walk through, and he says, "So Virgil, Stephanie is your daughter."
Yes, that's right.
"And Hem, why are you so eager to save her?"
She's a good worker. She helps me in my craft.
And he sort of, Reaver looks to you, Virgil, and he sort of gives like a look like,
Well, there's certainly a bond that forms between apprentice and master. Of course. I mean, it makes complete sense to me. She's a young woman. She probably looks up to you too, Em.
"Is she
course.
able to handle herself? Have you ever seen her work a sword or?"
Well, I've seen her wield a blade, yes, to separate meat from skin.
You've seen her wield a blade. My.
Yeah, it's she's quite handy, Virgil. She can lash, she can hunt, I'm sure. With a bow, she's quite handy.
Really?
Yeah. And she's got this keen sense about her. She seems to see things in the woods before they're... For example, the other day I was hunting a deer, and I swore the tracks led to the left, but she said just over the next rise we would find a few deer. And I asked her how she knew, because as soon as we got over the hill, there were some of the biggest bucks I'd ever seen, and she said she just knew. Amazing.
You mean she went hunting with you? Well, she would never go hunting with me. She always
loves
said
hunting.
She always said she was afraid of what might happen if we ever missed an animal, if it would ever take charge. She was never comfortable hunting with me. So that's very surprising that she would
at first
hunt with you.
She seemed the same way with me, but then we talked about life and how, an animal suffers in the wild. Even if it's not hunted, it'll starve to death quite often, and that's a worse way to go than a quick death. And she came round. It's quite clever, Virgil.
Yes, so of course. Yes, yeah, of course. I mean, she's like her mother like that. She's very, very smart girl. I guess I just never knew that or spent enough time with her, I suppose. Or really any of my children. And at this point, I'm almost starting to, I guess, feel a little bit embarrassed that I don't know my daughter as well as I thought I did. Yeah.
And as you continue moving through the stone pathway, it sort of begins opening up a bit. And you sort of enter an area that's sort of once lush green, but now it's sort of dried hedges and sort of pieces of tree and sort of like overgrown moss areas, but it's all dry and dying. And Reaver sort of stops and turns to the two. He says, "We can break here for just a minute. I just need to take a drink of water and use the restroom." And he excuses himself.
So that's really great. I'm really glad that my daughter's taking such a liking to you, and that she has the trust and the bond of a very, very close friend of mine. I want you to know that I trust you, and I thank you for watching out for my little girl. I only wish that I had a better bond, a closer relationship than I have had.
Virgil, I know that it's tough. You have a big family to look after, and you're doing the best you can, but Stephanie needs something more. She's talented and she's headstrong, and she needs someone to support her so she can grow into the person she's meant to be. It's not your fault. You're just too busy.
I've always tried to support her. In fact, I've always said that she was going to be someone that was going to do something great. I worry about her now. I can't get the image of that damned creature out of my mind, just thinking about its filthy skin and hands all over my daughter. It's driving me nuts. It's driving me nuts, Hem. We have to find her. We have to bring her home safely. She can't protect herself. She's just a young girl.
I look around for a particular plant, and I pluck it out of the ground. I said, "Here, chew on this. It'll relax you a little bit."
This is Smithersby. It's gonna dull my senses.
You'll be more relaxed. I use it when I hunt sometimes.
All right.
I poisoned him, so that way I could be the father.
And now he's out of the picture.
That's not Smith's book. Yeah, no.
Not Smith's book.
It's Smith's
Two identical looking plants. One that kills you, one that gives you immortality.
Yeah, and one's called Smithers Bright, the other one's called Smithers Blight.
Ooh.
They look very similar.
Yeah. But just
one letter off.
One's opposite, and you're like, it's like, oh, this is the left-leaning one, and you like eat it, and you're like, oh, wait a minute, and you walk around the other side of the plant, you're like, oh shit.
Oh no.
It's only left when approaching from the east. God damn it.
Oh, not Smithers Bright. Smithers Blight.
Anyway, and as you are chewing the root, Reaver pops back in, and he says, all right, you ready to go?
Yes. Thank you, Em. I'm feeling much more confident now.
And
I
he
feel
says,
my concentration kind of center, my focus.
we're getting closer to the wall. We'll be there soon. But before we do, I need to make a stop. It will help us at the wall.
What sort of a stop?
It's
We don't have time to stop.
we need to do it. If you want Stephanie back, I told you, no questions.
Do I feel like he's leading us astray?
I don't know. Give me a roll.
I'm going to give him.
I mean, he didn't even want to come.
Are you leading us astray?
The fuck is that?
Streetwise?
What's that? Sure.
Streetwise?
Streetwise
And
works.
presence?
Sure.
Thank you.
Are you a
What is success?
do-gooder?
Do he thinks?
Do he thinks thou dost? I think he's leading.
Doth he thou thoughts?
Like it could be like he has some motive, but I feel like he's bringing us to the right place, or do I feel like we're about to be? What do I feel, Harlan?
You feel like he is not telling you everything, but you don't get the impression that he's leading you astray. You can feel that he is empathizing and that he wants to bring you to Stephanie.
Okay.
You do get that vibe. So he says, come on. And he once again takes the lead through the sort of the openings of the stone, and you begin moving more. And as you do, you sort of reach again sort of an open area with these sort of almost like destroyed huts, maybe. They look burnt to the ground, and they're sort of dotting the landscape, but there's so many of them. And you're running and running and running and running, and these sort of become more commonplace as you begin sort of weaving through them and moving through them. And after maybe another 2 hours, you cross over the edge of a hill and you see it for the first time in the distance. Maybe another 2 hours run, but the wall is so big that you can see it from where you are. And you can only see the base of this wall, and the rest is just shrouded in cloud. And you can see that this sort of the haze of the day is sort of filling, and the gray sky is creating no light. But you can tell beyond a shadow of a doubt the base of the wall. And he looks towards the two of you and he says, "That's the wall."
It's not possible.
Believe me, it's more than possible.
It's so much bigger than I had ever fathomed. This is inconceivable.
Come here. We have a stop before we can actually make it. And he heads down, and as you sort of run down the crest of this hill and your eyes are sort of locked on the wall, he ends up going to one of these sort of large areas, one of these burnt down huts, and he says, just wait here for a second. And he enters into this sort of crushed hut, but it doesn't look like it's made of mud. It looks like it's made of maybe wood or something like that. And after a few minutes, he ducks out and he says, "I need your help, both of you."
What, in the hut?
Yeah.
Okay.
We both walk towards him.
Come
Absolutely.
inside. And he sort of ducks under this like broken doorway almost.
All right. And I duck under the broken doorway almost.
And you see, you're sort of bathed in darkness, and you see a bizarre sight, sort of this capsule in the woodwork of this sort of structure. And it's ornate and intricate, and sort of the moss beneath your feet feels, odd as you look around. And he turns towards you and he says, "There's a small, smooth piece of very thin wood that's been dyed, and it's been inscribed, and I need to find it, and it's somewhere in this area. Can you help me look for it, please?"
Are you kidding me? You want us to look for a small dyed piece of wood in this shithole? In this rubble?
Yes.
I don't think he's going to take us any further, Virgil, until we find him. So we might as well get to work.
I fully understand that, Ham, but this is ridiculous. Let's start searching, and I start turning over rocks and rubble and kind of sorting through.
Yeah, give me a wits roll, each of you.
Wouldn't it be charred?
Are you asking him?
Yeah.
He says, no.
I'm gonna roll wits plus
Investigation?
investigation.
That
yeah.
would be perfect, yeah.
Okay. Plus, if anybody wants to give me no, you know what? I don't need it.
I got...
Create roll.
Sorry, 7 is success or no?
Yes.
8.
No, 7 is a no, but 10 and 9 are good, so you can roll that 10 again.
2.
And Alex, you got a 10 as well. You can roll that.
I
again.
got a 10 as well.
Oh, another one. 3.
Only one success for me.
I got 3 success.
Perfect. So you have more successes than Alex, so you find it. And it's sort of tucked under some
Oh,
stones.
I see. How fair is that?
That's literally the most fair way any game works. And you see it sort of tucked under some stones, and you pick it up, and it's really bizarre. It's sort of the size of your palm of your hand, and it's a piece of very finely smoothed wood, and it's painted and it's intricate, and there's sort of, it looks like there is like dust on it, and you can't quite see beyond that.
I think I see a rune on it, so I try to blow and brush the dust off.
And what you see sort of stuns you for a second. And it just makes you feel wholly insecure. And Reaver sort of catches you, and he walks over and he snatches it out of your hand. He says, "Thanks, I got it from here." And I'm going to type what you saw, and you can reveal it to Alex in your own.
Cool.
And I'm just gonna grab a drink.
Okay.
Where are you typing this? Facebook Messenger?
No, on here.
Oh, Discord.
Oh yeah, Facebook Messenger. Actually, that makes more sense. Boom, 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 boom.
Tonight, I'm drinking this blend of our finest whiskeys, Spice Box whiskey, a product of Canada, but not that great. Not an endorsement. In fact, an opposite endorsement, an anti-endorsement for this sugar-filled bottle of cheap rye. Don't buy.
So you exit the room, and you're sort of shocked, and you don't have to reveal that at all. You can just learn that. That's what you learn. You don't have to say anything about that. In fact, it might be easier not to.
What's
And
it say?
he walks out
Oh, there I got to.
and heads to the thing, and heads back outside, and says, "Are you coming?"
You know how writing is words that stay. You know, runes, words that stay, meaning. This is Reaver that stays. It was Reaver.
What? What are you even talking about, him?
Are you coming or not? We're losing daylight, and we want to move quick.
Do we follow him or no? I whisper to him.
What's in all the other... Did you say that there's all these huts scattered around, Harlan?
Yeah,
Like how many?
hundreds of thousands.
Hundreds of thousands. Why... I called a Virgil. Why is there your face? I saw your face.
Is this to Reaver you're saying this?
Was it Reaver's face?
Yeah.
I saw your face, Reaver.
And he kind of shakes his head. He says, "Listen. You don't need to know. Do you want Stephanie back or not?"
What?
Yes.
Do you want Stephanie, both of you, or not?
Yes, of course.
In one of these other huts.
You need to stop. You need to listen to what I'm telling you to do. That was always the deal. And don't follow this line of questioning. Not now. We need to get your girl back.
We need to get my girl back.
And he walks off towards the wall.
A little frustrated and out of the feeling out of the loop, I guess you could say. I continue to follow him, but I give him sort of a cut eye. Tell me what the hell's going on. And I continue on out the door.
And you all run towards the wall, and the sky is starting to get dark, and you hear sort of a crack of thunder echoing through the landscape. And as you approach the wall, it is just this insanely high thing. The clouds sort of almost cut. The clouds are hanging low, mind you, but again, it sort of disrupts the flow of that. And eventually, it comes to sort of a slow walk, and as you approach, you see what Reaver was talking about. You see that the stone that built this wall is not the stones that line the jailhouse base, but it's sort of almost like a reflective stone. It looks as though you can see yourself in it, like a river. And as you approach, it gives you an eerie sense to see your reflections.
What's the fuck? Oh my god!
No wonder why I'm not popular. Is it like Onyx?
Don't be so hard on yourself. Look at me.
Onyx Harlan? Is that like the type of it's clearly rock?
No, it's sort of like
Are we talking like glass?
Well, as you walk up, you sort of like tap it, and it's cold to the touch, and it reminds you almost of iron.
We don't know what iron is, I imagine.
Well, you do have iron for certain things. You've used like for the bars of the jail cell. And things
How
like
can
that.
there be this much iron?
This is
The gods created this world. Maybe to punish us.
And Reaver sort of ignores you and says, "All right, I need you both to close your eyes."
But why? I mean,
We made a deal.
Why we made a deal. I step back away from Reaver's reach.
Yeah.
I close my eyes and I kind of block just in case.
And Virgin.
And I close my eyes as well, but
Peek Virgil.
I simply put my hands by my sides.
Peek Virgil.
Okay. And as the two of you eyes are closed,
I'm not
you
peeking him.
wait a moment. And give me, both of you, just a straight wits roll.
Funny, I was keeping my eyes closed, but I'm like, well, I don't really need to keep my eyes closed.
You're just that committed to role playing.
Oh, 100%. Straight throw. Oh, a 10. Perfect.
2 successes.
Only an 8, 9, 10 wins? I thought it was 7, 8, 9, 10.
8, 9, 10.
I'm double checking the rules.
You can do whatever the fuck you want, but I'm telling you what's up.
He's right, people. I double checked the rules.
So
oh, right.
both of you
Explode.
hear a very faint, almost like it's like almost like a bird call. As yeah, sort of like that, and then you hear a great rumbling beneath the ground, and it scares you.
And
he
what?
says,
It scares
Must we
you?
keep our eyes closed?
"Keep them closed," he says, as the rumbling grows louder and louder and louder, and it begins shaking you.
my
and you
God.
can feel it in your soul, and then
what's happening?
it stops, and he says, "Okay, you can open them." And as you open your eyes, you see that the wall has opened before you.
What in
It's
the
only
God's
opened about halfway
name?
up, but the large sort of reflective walls have opened up, and you can see within. And he says, "Come on," and he walks inside.
What in the world is going on? How did you open it? If you can open it, then others can open it. This is
Come on.
This is not what a wall is meant for. This is not what the gods meant for the wall, Reaver.
And he stops. He turns around. He says, "I said no questions. I said do what I say."
You're absolutely right. I'm so sorry.
Let's go.
I'll shut up. I'm just gonna follow you now.
And the three of you walk in. And
Reaver.
as you... Sorry, go ahead.
Something doesn't add up. You know things that no one I've ever met knows. How is it that we jailed you?
I don't... And he sort of stops. And he leans sort of against the wall in between the inside of the wall and the outside where you're coming from. And he says, "I don't fear you anymore."
You don't fear me anymore.
I don't fear you. Either of you. I don't fear what you mean.
What do we mean?
And he thinks for a moment and he says, You mean that we were wrong. And he turns and walks into the wall. Into the passage, rather, behind the wall. And you see him sort of fade into the darkness of the other side of the wall.
And I turn to him and I kind of mouth, they were wrong. They were wrong. About what? Was that too quiet?
No,
what were they wrong about? Okay. I don't know. People out there can't hear us.
No, they can.
Hello. Is anybody out there?
Are you following?
Yes, absolutely. I follow.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
At a far
No one's
pace.
excited. So, as the two of you enter the other side of the wall, this is the first time that anyone you have ever heard, generation over generation, has ever even come to the wall, let alone passed through the wall to the other side. What are the two of you thinking?
I'm just in a state of awe, and nobody will ever believe what I'm seeing. I don't even believe what I'm seeing. Just the spectacle of being so miniature compared to these massive walls shrouded in mist. Once they reach a certain point, I can't even see the top of it. And yet it's opened for this person, and suddenly also going through my mind is how much power does this person have, and what did he mean by he made a mistake with us, and is he working for us, or is he on the opposite side of us? Maybe this is a trap. What next?
I was reserving hope that I was going to return, but having seen this wall and knowing how out of my depth I am, I'm starting to make resolve and realize that chances of us coming back are pretty slim to none. We're dealing with things that my bow is looking pretty pathetic at this point.
And as you enter through to the other side of the wall, you are greeted with a sight that you have never fathomed possible. And it takes a moment for your mind to actually wrap around what you are witnessing. And what you see is almost like a forest with the widest possible trees you have ever seen. Trees wider
The whitest or wide?
wider. Trees wider than almost your entire village. And yet the trees are made of stone. Stone which reaches as high as any tree you've ever seen. And it's not just one stone tree, it's multiple, it's massive, all surrounding you, all reaching all different heights of different shapes. Some are thin and pointy, some are jagged and reaching up towards the sky, some are almost square as they stick up, and you are sort of awestruck as you stand at the base of these massive things. And Reaver sort of catches your eye and says, well, we need to keep moving. Do I need to tell you to keep your heads down?
No, Reaver.
No, you don't. I'm just entirely taken aback.
Are the creatures that inhabit this forest to the same greatness as these trees?
No, not really. And he sort of looks pained, and he turns away from you, and he begins running away into the deeper part of the beyond the wall.
I run after him.
And as you do, your feet hit sort of stone, but flat, smooth stone, like the stone you passed way back that was crumbled and sort of destroyed, almost like a sandstone. And as you run along it, your feet become hard against the no longer soft ground as you make your way deeper and deeper into this stone jungle of sorts. And as you begin running, or as you continue running, you get deeper and deeper into more complex areas within the jungle. And that's the easiest way your mind can sort of understand it. These stone sort of trees begin sort of dip down shallow at times, which you need to, which are only maybe 10 feet above your head, and you need to pass under them. And
is there anything I can bring back to prove, like something small, but like an acorn that's like the size of a watermelon or something like that?
Yeah, there are objects that you don't quite understand that you're almost trying to ignore through sheer lack of able to process them, as you look at them, like large, square, painted objects that look like they're painted with the color of sunflowers.
I try to find something I can bring just to have evidence in my kit.
And you walk over and you bend down to grab something that looks like a reflective disc, and Reaver snaps at you. He says, "No, we don't touch anything, not yet. You can bring something home after we're done."
Yes. Yeah. Sorry.
So even the low hanging branches are like stone.
Correct. Yes. There's no real low hanging branches. Most of the branches are sort of along the walls, and they're sort of made of the same almost stuff that the main wall, this sort of reflective stone, is sort of making this wall. And as you're running along and getting more and more claustrophobic in this area, Reaver stops and holds a hand up. And he turns and he says, "I think the Wraiths might be onto us." And just as he said that, you hear a deep growl of a sound you have never heard before, almost like a creature, but like a metallic creature. It has sort of a tinge to its sound, and you hear it. It's sort of like that, but deeper, but much, much deeper. And you sort of stop, and he hugs against a wall, and he says, "Just wait." And as you wait, the growl sort of stops, and then grows louder at the end of the area you are, sort of just between these large stone trees. And you see, from the corner of your eye, a figure move past the end of the opening. And I want you both to roll a wits with whatever you'd like to envision to see if you see what it is.
And I, just so you know, I kind of take the same stance as Reaver, and I put myself back up against the wall.
I'm gonna add investigation, or no?
Yeah, if you'd like, sure.
I'm gonna use stealth for this one. Does that work?
To see what it is? This is to see what it was,
Oh.
not to hide from it.
Oh.
Yeah, so you succeed.
Use that willpower if you got really low wits.
I'll just use my...
And you get a 10, so you're good. So you both succeed. So what you see, you only see the tail end of it, but it sort of looks like, think of like you've seen turtles swimming in the river. It sort of looks like a massive boxy turtle. It has almost a shell on the back of it, but it moves with such speed and such a guttural growl past you. You only saw sort of a blur of green and this sort of the dark pictures on either side of its shell as it sort of moved past.
Is that what destroyed our village?
Is that a wraith?
No. That's just something that the wraiths use to patrol these streets.
These are streets?
Sort of. Come
They
on,
use
we're almost
this.
there. And he runs around the corner. We need to move now, he says.
Okay. And I completely comply, and I follow him almost to the footstep.
And as the three of you sort of turn around the corner that the creature just moved out of, you see what looks to be the fallen body almost of a giant wraith. You see the loose, off-colored, pale skin that you saw the night that Stephanie was taken. And it's sort of stretched out over a large opening in these stone trees that surround this area. It's a massive open area where you can almost see the gray sky above. But this large, loose skin is sort of tented up in the center of this clearing. And
so it's like the scrotum has been stretched across this clearing.
Sort of, but it looks much bigger than the skin that the wraiths have.
Do I recognize it to be sewn together or one piece?
You can't see it yet because it's sort of far away. But Reaver sort of ducks again as he hears that growl in the distance, and he holds the two of you back. And after it passes, he turns towards you two and he says, "All right. Stephanie is in there. I need you to not ask any questions for the next little bit. Until
we have to go.
Inside. I know, but I need you to stop. You're going to see some things that are going to make you question, but we need to stay quiet. Okay?"
All right.
Hem nods.
And he ducks down, and the two of you, or the three of you, run across towards the carapace of this giant creature. And as you approach sort of what you would guess is maybe the neck hole, you see it. It's sort of more structurally sound almost than what you would have thought, and it's hollow on the inside. And as he walks up, he ducks in, and it's cool to the feel rather than humid as you would assume. It looks like it's old. And it's probably the size of your own mud hut. It has sort of a, like, it's been peaked up at the roof, and you see as you enter the sort of off pale, almost like the off-white gray of its skin is sort of, it has holes sewn into it as well to allow the light in. And as Reaver walks up to it, you see sort of in the neck hole, maybe 30 feet back, it looks to be sort of a door. But it's not made of wood. It's made of that same stone that the wall was made of. And he stands next to it, and he looks towards the two of you. And he sort of nods. And he reaches into his coat. And for a thin man, he keeps a fairly baggy cape and sort of a baggy coat. And you've noticed it a few times, but never made much of a thought about it. And as he reaches into his coat, he pulls out something that you've never seen before, and he holds it in the palm of his hand. And it looks to be almost like a rock or a sword, but it's bent in such a way, almost like an L shape. And he makes a movement with his hand that creates a click. And as he stands on the other side of the door, he opens it with a swinging.
And I start to say, how? And then I catch myself.
He enters in, and the two of you follow. You see a soft blue glow, first and foremost. The blue glow illuminates from behind sort of a cutout in the skin of something that you can see through. It's almost like water, but you can see right through it. And it's hard. And as he walks in holding this object up, you see that there are figures on the other side of this wall that you can see through. And they're standing over a body that's lying down on a slab of stone. And the figure beyond that is wearing a white shawl. And he looks similar to you, but he doesn't have hair on his chin or on his face like you and Reaver and Virgil do him. And he doesn't have dirt on his face. In fact, his hair is sort of swooped to one side. And he's standing behind this clear bit of wall. And you see him press something. And he says, "Hello, Ethan. I didn't think we would see you back. And you've brought us friends, I see." And Reaver says, "Yeah, we're here for the girl. And just the girl. That's all they want. And I think that's fair." And the man behind, still pressing this button, his voice is coming out almost like it's through a tube. It seems distant. And he turns to the two of you and says, "What has he told you?"
I look to Reaver. I look back. Trying
I
to
look to
figure out
him.
what Reaver wants us to say.
And Reaver sort of shakes his head and says,
Not enough.
very much like you, Ethan. Do you want me to tell them? And he turns back towards you, this man, and he says, do you not have questions?
So many questions.
Let me help. And he says, I understand your position. No one recalls when the wall was built. It was well before the villages were built, well before the green began to fade, well before now. On the far side of the wall are the wraiths. Some call them monsters, some pale creatures born from the blackened fires of hell. Most call them nightmares. I'm no stranger to those words, he says, sort of with a smile. On the other side, your side, are the stalkers, living off the fading lands, hunting, fishing, living lives filled with peace. And so it was peace, until the wraiths began coming from behind the wall. At first, there were only whispers, I'm sure. Tales of the boogeymen leading their world behind the wall to curiously scout the nearest villages. Then tale became truth as word spread of the attacks. The details took many forms. Some through those left alive after the creatures came, spreading fire and fear. Now word has spread less and less. Villages have gone dark. Word has come to whispers, and you await the day that they came for you. But we're not the boogeymen. That is a lie. The truth is, the wall was erected when the virus broke out. We were once a thriving civilization on Earth here. We had sprawling cities, utopias built around technology, science, future. But when the virus hit, it changed the world. It changed all of that. Suddenly, there were those who were immune. For some reason, your DNA had something that allowed you to carry and transfer the virus but not die out from it. And so we built the wall. The stockyard was the massive fertile land given to you, the infected, the ones who didn't show any signs, the immune. And we kept the technology and barricaded ourselves into the city to find a cure. And that was a long time ago. For a long time, both sides of that wall thrived. We scrutinized and studied. We have cameras all over the outside of the wall to make sure. Many people embraced the step back to simple times. You were given all the advantages you wanted: food, water, shelter. It was not forced exile. No, we were the ones exiled in this city, stuck behind a metallic wall to die. But eventually, the virus made its way through. Somehow, despite our caution, it couldn't be stopped. Eventually, our walls crumbled, the virus got into the city, and we had to retreat further into the belly of our home. And that was almost 10 years ago. Some scientists, myself included, decided it was within the new generation of cells of the stockyard that the key to our salvation would lie, an untouched gene within an infected child. And he steps back and he points to the table behind him, and you see Stephanie in an operating room with a white sheet draped over her. Something that can only come from years of those who are immune. And so we sent expeditions to scout villages, taking younger children. I admit there were times we lost sight, that we contaminated villages that were particularly prone to disease out of fear of them spreading. But this is not just for me. This is not just for a few. Beneath this city lies over 1.2 million people. Do you have any idea how big a million is? They all live alive under this city, dying from lack of oxygen, from fear of outbreak. 1.2 million husbands, wives, children, all waiting for us to find a cure. And he looks over to Reaver. Dr. Reaver, this girl has that cure. We've already taken a sample. She can bring about the end to all of this.
And I interrupted. So take some of her blood, but then let her back to us.
It's not that simple. And
oh, but it is.
Sort of sits next to you and says, no, it's not.
No. And I grabbed Reaver by the shoulder. You have to. It has to be. You have to make it simple. You have to. She's got to come back with us. Reaver! Come on, speak to me!
I'm not
What are you looking at me for?
I'm telling you that I can't make the choice for you. This girl has the cure that might help all these people.
How can we know what you're telling us is true? You say there's all these people, this number, 1 million people. How can we know?
No one, girl.
How would you like me to prove it? I can't bring you down there. You're infected. As is Reaver there. That's why he went out to the stockyard to die. I didn't think he'd bring anyone back. He's never been that foolish. How did you get in? Did you snuggle your key card out? Doesn't matter. Listen,
Reaver, you're dying?
And he looks towards you. I told you I don't fear you anymore. I caught this infection last year. It's only got a limited clock on it. I'll be dead soon enough. Don't worry, you can't get any more infected. And Reaver stands up. However, the choice is still yours. And he hands you what he was holding. And he says, this is a gun. It's a pistol. And you see the man behind the glass sort of look nervous. He says, Ethan, what are you doing? He says, this is yours now. Hem. And he puts it in your hand to hold a pistol. And he says, if you point this and you pull that trigger that your finger's on right now, it's going to shoot a piece of metal that's going to fly through that glass, and it's going to kill anyone you point it at. Stephanie's on that table right there. You know the stakes. And the man behind the glass says, son, listen to me for a second. Before you do anything brash, there are 1.2 million people that this one life could save. And he looks to both of you, Virgil and you. If we can take out a cure from her and help everyone below us, you have saved an entire part of the world. Not only that, our civilization can become whole again. It means that we don't need to fear each other. It means that we can break down that wall. I've seen it. Your world is dying. The green land is no longer green. It's because we've divided it. It's because we've hoarded the technology, and that's wrong, and I'm sorry for that. But if we can cure it, if we can solve it, if we can become united once again,
will she suffer?
No, she's already sedated. She doesn't know what's going on. She's completely out of it.
It's not only that. It's not about her suffering. It's about her family and her friends suffering too. You have to understand that each one of those 1.2 million people, they have family and friends as well. And even 1.2 million people means absolutely nothing if none of them have anybody to care about them. So tell me this. One life, in my opinion, is just as much as 1.2 million lives.
How can you even think that way?
How can you possibly think the opposite way? You have to let her live. There must be a way to do your procedure and allow her to live her life.
And he looks towards you, Hem. Listen. Think of it for a moment. I understand what your friend here is saying. But you have the potential to not just save 1.2 million people, but also help your own people. If we have a cure, we also have no need to send out our troops to collect samples anymore. We have no need to extinguish the growing threat towards our wall. We have no need to capture anymore. We
How
have
many
a solution.
get to find Stephanie?
Too many. And many more would have to. If you kill me, one of two things will happen. Either another scientist will rise up in my place and try to do the same thing, or all of the people below this city will die.
And I turn to him, and I kind of grab his arm, and I turn him away from this group of people, and I look at him. Listen to me. Just as you said at the Man of the Gallows, this is the way that these things happen. This is all part of the world. Look at it. Look at you and me, Em. We are the stronger evolutionary race. These people, they'll die like that. We have the genetic implant. What happens if they kill Stephanie and give them everything that she has and everything they need? What's to say that they're not going to get something else and die, and it will all mean nothing?
Life
We should
means
let
something.
them all die.
Virgil, life means something.
Of course it does. But if life is telling us that these people need to die, there's only 1.2 million people left. How many were there before that? How many people on our side of the wall have already died? How many people on their side of the wall have already died?
And it needs to stop. And I pull the gun up and I put it towards his head.
Who?
Virgil's head.
Me?
Ooh, twist.
Hem, what are you doing?
That's what
You
Stephanie
don't
would
understand.
pull the trigger. Bang.
Oh. And Reaver sort of sits back, and he's like, Jesus Christ. And the man on the other side of the wall, holding the button, says, wow, you did the right thing.
He wouldn't be able to live with it, knowing what we had to do here. And if he told everyone back there, I couldn't live either. Do what you need to. Save as many as you can. Promise me that the wall will stay up. Raids will stop until my generation is gone, so that no one will know what happened.
You have my word. You have saved over 1 million people today.
I've killed one. That's all I've done. I turn to walk out.
And Reaver stands up and he looks towards the doctor and he looks towards you. And he walks behind you out into the city. And as the two of you exit the tent and look up towards the city and begin walking towards the exit, Reaver sort of turns to you and says, that was a really tough decision.
Stephanie already made it for me.
You leave the city. Reaver, Dr. Ethan Reaver, uses his ID card to scan the wall once again, and it closes the security entrance. You pass by the burnt houses that dot the outside of the wall. You pass once again through the crumbled ruins of the city, the concrete being explained to you now by Reaver, the broken glass and wood hidden behind the concrete slabs. You pass by the fields where farmhouses once stood and now burned. You pass by the trees in the forests burned down to their nubs and back into the village lands that you've come to familiarize yourself with. And as you walk through the final wood, returning home to your village, Reaver stops you on the edge of it and says, "What are you going to tell them?"
I'm going to tell him that Virgil died trying to save his daughter as he did. I'm going to tell him that things we saw here are horrible and cruel and punishing, and that the wall was built because we're not ready to see what's on the other side.
And so you go home to the village, back to your life with that story. And we're going to end it there. Alex is still committed to being dead.
It's really hard to do.
Yeah, especially when you're not even on camera. Ladies and gentlemen, that was The Wall. Get ready
Very
for Beyond
tough.
the Wall, Return to the Wall, The Wall 2, and Back to the Wall. All the sequels.
And our final, another brick in the wall.
So fun. Thank you so much, guys. You did so good. That was such a great job at that.
I really have one question that I have to ask Chris.
Shoot.
Why
Did you
did
really
you shoot
think it through?
How long have you been waiting to do that?
Since Edward, actually. I think we tried it with Edward.
Somebody killed Edward. He died. Good job, guys. That was a lot of fun.
That was a lot of fun. Way to go, Harlan.
I have
Good-
no. I
game.
did not think of the. Thank you. I did not think of the Maze Runner thing. I think I haven't seen the movie. I didn't realize that.
Well, I've only seen I saw the first two movies, and there was
That's
like
the same thing. It's like a cure or whatever, right? That right?
yeah, and they
person?
they put like the people with the gene in an area to, I think, produce the cure. I'm not sure though.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Anyway, my whole thing was, just to talk about it for a second, there's a short story called Uncle Joshua and the Grugelman, and it's a really good short story, and it's all written from the perspective of these contaminated people who need to go to retrieve like a person that gets taken because, again, basically the same storyline. But the thing I loved about that short story, and what I wanted to try to emulate in a game, was to tell the players and the reader something that they didn't realize that they already knew. And the way the story does it's really clever with the whole, because basically, I mean, you know, with the one-eyed monster with the
Well, I
flame,
imagine the skin is to protect them from the disease, and they're burning.
it's literally a dude in a hazmat suit, like burning buildings. And like, I remember they do the same thing in the story. And when I was reading it, you know, you're like, oh my God, that sounds so terrible. And then at the end, you know, like I wanted to add a scene, but it would have been a bit too much storytelling. But in the book or the story where they're like, they like skin them and then wear their skin.
Wow.
Right? So like, but they're wearing the suits, but like from the perspective of the person, it's like skinning them, but from the perspective of you guys, it's really just wearing the suit. So I figured that would be a bit too interesting, but I really wanted to try to tell a story where you guys didn't know what was like kind of going on until there was like the reveal, and then you're like, oh, wait a minute, oh, that was that, and that was that, and that was that. And I think we did that pretty well.
I agree.
I think you guys, well, you did it really well, because it was tough not to ask too many questions, and I think you walked that line really, you told really interesting character story while sort of playing into what I was really hoping for, and at the same time making some really good decisions at the end, so well done.
I think as far as the acting and decision making goes, the role playing aspect of it, the end there was very difficult, and I think I'm glad that we were on opposing sides. I'm always happy about that, Chris.
Not exactly what I wanted to play on my comeback game, but that's
It was good.
No, but I'm really glad that, you know, you made it. I was, you know, surprisingly, you had to kill me, but I was on the side of killing a whole population of people, and you were like,
I think, but
wanted to save it.
Would you have killed me if the roles were reversed, or would you have killed her? Would you have killed the guy and tried to save her?
I think if roles were reversed, I probably would have. I don't know. Actually.
It's tough,
Maybe,
right?
yeah. Maybe I would have tried to help them, but still keep my daughter. But I don't know.
It's not about killing
Apparently, it's not possible. So.
like you guys are wrong or something, but I don't think that would have, that killing Stephanie, that would have been an interesting choice too.
Yeah. Everybody suffers, right?
Reaper would have been a wasted bullet. Killing the other guy would have been a wasted bullet, really.
Yeah.
Well, maybe. I don't know. It depends. He also could have been lying, right? Like,
Breaking
all
down
this
that-
could be for nothing.
Breaking down that piece of glass and getting everybody infected would have killed everybody, right?
There we go. Oh shit, that would have been a good choice. If we had went down and just like exposed ourselves to them.
That's what I was saying.
Oh, that would have been clever.
1.2 million people.
Yeah, but
Why
that's
would you want to do that? Just to fuck it up?
No, think about it.
We're the superior race.
Let's never give Alex power.
Well, you definitely could.
In
I
a
mean, you definitely
situation
could have
like
killed
that,
them all, and then just like taken over the city.
like evolutionary speaking,
What was
the
that?
whole race conversation. Evolutionary speaking, that
Evolutionary.
actually,
Evolutionarily speaking.
that actually makes the most sense. There's like two parts of the race. One survives a great disease, and the other one doesn't. It's like pretty much, life has decided.
Life finds a way, as they say.
Thank you, Harlan. That was a fun game.
Look,
I'm glad. Thank you so much. I've
Yeah.
had that idea for a while that I've wanted to do.
Yes, it was
So,
fun.
I'm really glad that we got the chance of to play it.
And I'm glad I got to play with you, Chris.
Yeah, it was fun. Alex, thank you.
Not
I'm
too
so glad you
hiatuses.
guys get to play. So yeah, you're back forever now. No options otherwise. That's what everyone's
see.
thinking on the stream. They're like,
Oh,
no,
yeah.
Chris, he's back forever, and Alex, well, Alex is always here. Perfect. Endgame XP. Who should we give it to?
Oh, difficult decision. Decision. I'm interested. Okay, I'm going to put down here what I think here.
You can just announce it. I trust you.
Oh,
Alex
you've
is
been on more
committed.
recently.
There we go. Sure. I don't know who that is, but let's do it. Oh, no, he got it last time, I think.
That's why I was saying that.
Yeah. Fair enough. I think, yeah, no, I'm pretty sure he did. Any new? I thought there was another new person who joined.
Harlan,
someone?
nice.
Huh?
I don't recognize a lot of people, so I shouldn't comment.
Yeah, you're like the old. You're like the old stock.
Generation 1.
Generation 1.
First
1.0.
generation.
You're the first iPod. You're slow.
Vic is 1.0.
Well, I'm 1.0 too.
4.5. Yeah, but you've gone with all the driver updates.
I know. I'm like 1.0. I got the old
you-
exterior, but a slick new operating system.
Are you sure that first person won last time?
I think so. I don't think Yellow Snap is one. I don't recognize that name.
Yellow Snap.
Yeah, Colin.
You can
Yeah,
win twice in a row. If you're
Colin
there.
Burchart. Yeah, let's do that. Fine, Colin
Yeah.
Burchart. You win Endgame XP.
Just remember who chose you, Colin.
Wee, wee, wee,
It was
wee,
your
wee,
good
wee,
friend
wee.
Alex.
It was your good pal Ali K.
That's who actually owns all the XP that we're giving out. That's me. It's
Yeah.
all mine.
It's all my and basically all the XP also gets regurgitated by me, so I have to make it. He owns it. I make it. He owns it.
Milking system. We hook
Yeah.
up to you.
Very, very delicate system. It's kind of like a cow milking machine.
Yeah, it's very painful. Very chafy.
Very chafy. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. My name, of course, is always Harlan Guthrie. This was Alex Guthrie and my good friend, Chris
night.
Viseau. Hope you have a fantastic night. And as my good friend Chris always likes to say,
We'll see you around the table.
we'll see you around the table, guys. Good night.
Bye!